Chapter 1802. Chinke, aren't you overthinking it? We've been living in seclusion all this time. Very few people know our identities, let alone our purpose in going north. No matter how resourceful the Turks are, they can't predict everything in advance, right? Qin Huayu, who was sitting next to Iron Egg, frowned and said to Li Tai. Qin Huayu was also a member of the group heading north this time. Previously, Qin Huayu's grades were among the best in the school of mathematics. Later, when he came to Yanhuang College, Qin Huayu's grades were considered to be in the upper echelons of the entire grade. Moreover, he was also part of the first batch of members of the college's trump card project. However, in comparison, in the first batch of students of Yanhuang College, Li Tai, Li Ku, Li Yen, Jia Jiayin, and the other young geniuses were too dazzling, so much so that Qin Huayu and Meng Wenhao, who were originally of superior talent, were somewhat overshadowed. In the original plan, a total of 7 people from Yanhuang College's Class 1 were selected for this trip north. Li Tai, Iron Egg, Meng Wenhao, Qin Huayu, Tsing Ziren, Qing Chumo, and Yuqi Baolin. The first 5 were selected because of their talents and were members of the college's trump card project. Qing Chumo and Yuqi Baolin were selected because of their martial arts. They were considered to be the most powerful among the students of Yanhuang College. With the 2 of them protecting Li Tai at all times, Li Zixuan and the other teachers of the college would feel more at ease. However, who knew that before the people of the college were about to set off, the 2 brothers, Qing Chumo and Yuqi Baolin, were ordered to enlist in the Black Armored Army. Therefore, among the students heading north this time, there were only 5 people in Class 1. Because a carriage could seat 4 people, Tsing Ziren was sitting in the carriage behind. Huayu, although you're right, there's no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. Who knows if the Turks have planted spies in Chang'an? When the Tuju estate preceptor entered Yanhuang College, he must have found out through some channels that the college has something he wants. This time, we can't let our guard down. Li Tai frowned and shook his head. It had to be said that little Fatty was quite cute when he was serious. Of course, to his opponents, he was also quite scary. Yes. If that's the case, we really have to be careful. Qin Huayu nodded thoughtfully and said, just as you said, Taiyuan is fine. After all, Yunzhou is in the northern border of the Tang Empire, bordering the Turks. After we go to Yunzhou, we must be very careful. I suggest that the people of the academy should not leave the site of the Imperial Army to avoid accidents. Li Tai felt the same way. And, when we go to Yunzhou from Taiyuan, I will tell General Dugu. Along the way we have to be alert and vigilant. I have a feeling that the Turks won't let us build the relay station smoothly. Hearing this, Iron Egg, Qin Huayu, and Meng Wenhao cupped their hands and replied, yes. Li Tai was the commander-in-chief of this northern operation. Logically speaking, they had to listen to Li Tai's arrangements. However, Li Tai did not know that his vague intuition had come true this time. Big brother, where did you go this time? At this time, Dugu Xian galloped alone from behind and caught up with Dugu Feiying, who was leading the way. Seeing this, Dugu Feiying said helplessly, I just went back to Shiha County. Dugu Xian replied. Then, with a serious face, he asked softly, Feiying, do you feel that someone is following us? What? Someone is following us? Hearing this, Dugu Feiying's eyes widened. Without thinking, he replied, Big brother, are you kidding me? There are so many of us. Who would be so blind as to follow us? Unless they are tired of living. Chapter 1803. Hey! Hey! Who? Late in the morning, the Black Armored Army's training ground was in full swing. In the past, at this time, only the A, D and E battalions were doing combat training. The B and C battalions were practicing their equestrian skills according to the original training method. But now, the 5 battalions of the Black Armored Army were doing combat training for 2 hours starting from 7 in the morning. The reason why the Sea Battalions changed their training plan was because the original captain of the Sea Battalions had violated the military rules and was executed. The current captain of the Sea Battalions was Li Zixuan. The B Battalions made the change because Qiu Xingong had requested Sun Tao to do so. A few days ago, Qiu Xingong had instructed Sun Tao to secretly learn from Li Zixuan's new training manual. This was because Li Zixuan's rules included hunting, which required the soldiers to have a certain level of close combat ability. In order to win this competition, Qiu Xingong had no choice but to copy Li Zixuan's new training manual. Ever since Zhang Kongyan had fallen from the horse, Qiu Xingong's influence in the Black Armored Army had been reduced by more than half. Now, only the B Battalion was under his control. Of course, what made him even more furious and fearful was Li Er's imperial edict that day. In front of all the soldiers, Li Er had punished him with a cane. This caused him to lose all faith in the Black Armored Army. Even though he was extremely furious in his heart, he didn't dare take revenge on Li Zixuan right now, because he understood that the punishment of 30 strikes was Li Er's warning to him. If he dared to do anything, then Li Er would definitely not let him off easily. To Qiu Xingong, since he couldn't do it secretly, he would do it openly. He wanted to lead the B Battalion to defeat the E Battalion in the competition in a few days. He wanted to completely destroy Li Zixuan's reputation and make Li Zixuan understand that Li Zixuan was completely inferior to him in terms of training soldiers. Therefore, Qiu Xingong had been coming to the training ground more frequently than before. To be precise, he was coming to the B Battalion more frequently than before. Even though it was part of the military's job to supervise the training of the soldiers, Qiu Xingong was still the general of the Black Armored Army. No one dared to say anything when he came to visit. Not far from the B Battalion's training ground was the C Battalion's training ground. Li Zixuan happened to be patrolling the C Battalion's training ground. Stop. Are the two of you training or playing house? Get your facts straight. The ones standing in front of you are Turks. Are you going to use such soft movements to attack the enemy? At this moment, Li Zixuan saw a pair of soldiers fighting with extremely perfunctory and weak movements. He couldn't help but stomp his foot and loudly berate them. Swoosh! At this moment, a burly man suddenly appeared beside Li Zixuan. Without another word, the man stepped forward and kicked the two soldiers in front of Li Zixuan to the ground. He then pointed at the two soldiers and scolded them loudly, "You're a traitor! You're a traitor! Pangguang, Duziding, you two bastards always slacked off during training when Zhang Kongyan was here. Now that Sergeant Li is the C Battalion's lieutenant, you two are still slacking off. If you don't want to train, get out of the C Battalion as soon as possible. Don't tarnish the reputation of the Black Armored Army." The burly man was the C Battalion's lieutenant, Gao Gong. Chapter 1804. Training was a long and arduous process. At the same time, it was also a process that constantly stimulated one's potential. To shorten this process, they had to increase the amount of training at an appropriate time and not keep the same amount. Even though the soldiers of the Wu Battalion were the recruits of the Black Armored Army, they were not real recruits. Before they came to the Black Armored Army, they were the elites of the 12 guards of the capital. Naturally, their individual military and physical qualities were impeccable. The amount of training that Li Zixuan gave them was mainly for them to familiarize themselves with the training in the new drill. However, to the most elite heavy cavalry of the Tang Empire, this amount of training was obviously not enough. Therefore, when the soldiers seemed to be able to handle the current amount of training with ease, it was absolutely necessary to increase the amount of training appropriately. Joining the army in the past 2 days, I heard that the 2nd Battalion is also imitating our combat training. I wonder if it is Sun Tao's idea or General Qiu's. Sun Jiping said casually as he led Li Zixuan to inspect the training grounds of the Wu Battalion. Ha! From what I see, This is most likely General Chiu's doing. He knows that he can't do anything to me in the dark, so he wants to use the 2nd Battalion to defeat me openly." Hearing this, Li Zixuan chuckled and said. He had interacted with Sun Tao before and knew that even though this person was on Qiu Xinggong's side, he still had some pride and wasn't as unprincipled as Zhang Kongyan. Therefore, he felt that with Sun Tao's character, if it wasn't for Qiu Xinggong's pressure, he would never have done something as disgraceful as secretly learning from others. However, Li Zixuan didn't care about this. He pondered for a moment and said to Sun Jiping, "Don't bother about them. If they want to learn, let them learn. This way, it will prove that the new drill is indeed more suitable for the current black armored army. As for us, we just need to do our own thing well. When the time comes, let's see if the student who stole from others is better than us." Li Zixuan's words revealed a strong sense of confidence. Sun Jiping couldn't help but be infected by this confidence. He calmed down a little and replied with a smile, "Yes, sir." Li Zixuan thought for a moment and said, "As for combat training, I just discussed with Gao Gong. In the future, everyone will have to rotate their opponents every day. This way we can prevent them from colluding with each other and not working hard during training. Find some time in the afternoon to talk with him and discuss a rotation method. In the future, the combat training of the A, C, D and E battalions, they will be rotated according to this method." Hearing this, Sun Jiping's eyes lit up and he praised, "Switching opponents is a good idea. I will discuss this with Deputy Gao during lunch." Li Zan nodded his head, Also, in the combat competition 3 days later, I plan to let the soldiers of the 4 battalions participate in it. I want to see how the strength of the soldiers of the E battalion is compared to the other battalions. Therefore, Jiping, in the next 2 days, let the brothers focus on their combat training. When he first came up with the new training program, he stipulated that there would be a combat competition every 7 days. This was to improve the combat ability of the soldiers. However, his original intention at that time was to let each battalion compete internally. Now, he changed his mind. Now that he was in charge of the 4 battalions, he naturally had to treat everyone equally. Good. Then for the next 3 days, after every afternoon, I will let the soldiers take out an hour to practice their combat skills. However, I hope that in the aspect of combat, I can impart more experience and skills to my brothers. After all, you are a martial arts master." Sun Jiping didn't even think about it before he cupped his fist and replied. Li Zixuan pondered for a moment and nodded his head. "All right, I will take some time to come and watch. However, the purpose of combat is to kill people. The techniques involved have nothing to do with the realm of martial arts. It is all about how efficiently and simply to defeat the opponent. It doesn't care about how flashy the moves are or how profound they are. It is more about the result. Jiping, you should understand this better than me. Martial arts was actually not the same thing as going on the battlefield to kill the enemy. A martial arts duel was, to a large extent, a struggle between individuals, while going on the battlefield to kill the enemy was a contest between thousands of soldiers. For a veteran who had experienced hundreds of battles, a duel between 2 martial arts experts would often be somewhat flashy, because for a soldier on the battlefield, the most important thing was to kill the opponent in the shortest amount of time, using the most energy-efficient method, and not to seek victory with every move. There was an essential difference between the two. Although a person with strong martial arts was powerful, in the face of thousands of soldiers and horses, it was useless. At most, it was better than a normal person to stay alive. In the army, the purpose of martial arts was to strengthen the body. It was to let the soldiers have a strong body to compete with the enemy. Killing the enemy on the battlefield did not rely on martial art. Instead, it was the art of combat, the art of killing. Sun Jiping nodded his head thoughtfully and said, "I understand." Li Zixuan smiled and patted his arm. "That's enough. Then you go and do your work. As for the Wu Battalion, I will definitely come and inspect it when I am free. Yes. Join the army. Sun Jiping cupped his fist and accepted the order. Li Zishuan walked towards the direction of the commander's tent. As for the food problem of the Wu Battalion, he had to solve it today. Qiu Xingong, who was patrolling the 2nd Battalion, saw Li Zishuan walking towards the main camp. He pondered for a moment and said a few words to Sun Tao before following him. Reporting to the general, Li Zishuan requests to see you. In the commander's tent, Duan Zhishuan was sitting on the couch and reading military documents. At this time, the guard outside the tent came in and bowed. Please. Duan Zhishuan raised his head and said one word lightly. Using please instead of let him in, it was enough to show that Li Zishuan's position in his heart was higher than before. In the end, it was because of the imperial edict from Li Er last time. Yes. The guard accepted the order and left. After a while, Li Zishuan walked in. Because the soldiers in the camp were all wearing military armor, there were not many rules here. Li Zishuan just cupped his fist and said to Duan Zhishuan, "Greetings to the general." Duan Zhishuan had already put down the documents in his hand. He smiled and waved his hand. "You don't have to be so courteous in front of me." After a pause, Duan Zhishuan asked doubtfully, "The soldiers should be practicing in the drill ground right now, right? You aren't in the drill ground, but you came to the commander's tent. You should be looking for me for something, right?" It was said that old people were shrewd. This saying was true when used on Duan Zhishuan. Li Zishuan stepped forward and cupped his fist. "The general is wise. I am here to ask the general for a favor." "Say it." Duan Zhishuan's face showed an "I knew it" expression, then he nodded. Li Zishuan then opened his mouth. "Actually, I am here for the rations of the soldiers of the Wu Battalion. I heard from Field Officer Sun that a month ago, the Deputy General of the 2nd Battalion, Chun Datong, brought people to the Wu Battalion's kitchen to snatch the raw meat. Sun Jiping's argument was to no avail. Later on, General Qiu proposed to have the 5 battalions compete with each other. The weakest one would only be able to provide 1 meal of meat a day. In the end, the Wu Battalion became the last. Until now, the soldiers in the battalion can only eat 1 meal of meat a day. Is this true? Hearing this, Duan Zhishuan finally knew the real purpose of Li Zishuan's visit. He couldn't help but frown. "Last month, I was busy with the affairs of the imperial court and was often not in the army. Most of the military affairs in the battalion were handled by Xingong. But I heard about this matter later on. But at that time, the bet had already been made, and I couldn't do anything about it." Li Zishuan said seriously, "The general is wise. At that time, the soldiers of the Wu Battalion were just transferred from other guard stations in the capital to the Black Armored Army. They didn't even know each other. And in the other 4 battalions, there were some old soldiers of the Black Armored Army. For the Wu Battalion, this competition was already unfair. How could the bet count? Haha. What Field Officer Li said is wrong." Right after Li Zishuan finished speaking, a person walked in from outside the tent. It was Qiu Xingong. He came in front of Li Zishuan and bowed to Duan Zhishuan. Then he turned to Li Zishuan and said, "At that time, the soldiers of the Wu Battalion all agreed to the bet willingly. No one forced them. You can't deny the bet just because the Wu Battalion ended up last, right? Even the scoundrels in the marketplace know to admit defeat. Field Officer Li, are you trying to make the brothers of the Wu Battalion even worse than the scoundrels in the marketplace? It's this old B** starred again. He's really haunting me." Li Zishuan couldn't help but complain in his heart. He really hated Qiu Xingong to the core. He didn't want to fight with Qiu Xingong, but Qiu Xingong kept pressuring him. This made him very unhappy. Li Zishuan's principle was, "If you make me unhappy, then I'll make you unhappy too." There were some things that he didn't want to fight for, but now he had no choice but to fight for it. General Qiu's words are really beautiful. But the cause of this matter was Deputy General Chen Datong of the 2nd Battalion and his men stealing the rations of the Wu Battalion. General Qiu should know about this, right? Facing Qiu Xingong, this old B***starred, who was trying to twist the truth, Li Zixuan snorted coldly and said, "It's said that people fight for their dignity, and Buddha fights for an incense stick. The black armored army is full of hot-blooded men. Under such a situation, even if they knew that the bet was disadvantageous to them, how could they not agree to it? General Qiu told me that if you agree to the bet, then I would like to ask General Qiu, when Sun Jiping reported to General Qiu that Chen Datong stole the rations of the Wu Battalion, why was the booklet kept for no reason? Also, I heard that Chen Datong is a distant relative of General Qiu. So in this matter, did General Qiu secretly protect Chen Datong?" Chapter 1805. In the commander's tent. Seeing that Duan Zixuan had come over to stop the fight, Li Zixuan stopped arguing with Qiu Xingong. Instead, he cupped his fist and said to Duan Zixuan, "General, I don't want to argue with General Qiu. I just want to seek justice for the Wu Battalion. The training volume of the new drill is already huge, but the soldiers can only have 1 meal of meat a day. How can this be? If the soldiers can't even fill their stomachs, how can they train hard and increase their combat power?" During the expansion of the Black Armored Army, the competition between the 5 battalions was no doubt unfair to the newly recruited Wu Battalion. I can't let the competition between E Battalion and Wu Battalion in 5 days be unfair as well. Therefore, I hope that the general can restore the rations to the Wu Battalion. If the rations are really limited, then I am willing to raise my own rations so that the soldiers of the Wu Battalion can have 2 meals of meat a day just like the other battalions. For a soldier, the daily training was undoubtedly very taxing on physical strength. Especially now that the soldiers of the Wu Battalion were using the new drill, the daily physical strength consumption of each person was even more terrifying than before. A huge amount of physical strength consumption often required a large amount of food to replenish their physical strength. This was a very simple truth that everyone understood, and from the perspective of nutrition, compared to vegetarian food, meat was undoubtedly more energy-storing. Under the situation where there was only 1 meal of meat a day, it was very difficult to ensure that the soldiers had sufficient energy intake. More importantly, as the soldiers adapted to the current training intensity, Li Zixuan planned to gradually increase the daily training volume. In this way, restoring the 2 meals of meat a day to the Wu Battalion was absolutely imperative. The overall strength of the soldiers of the 2nd Battalion was already higher than that of the 5th Battalion. If the food of the 5th Battalion was not as good as that of the 2nd Battalion, then it would be even harder for the 5th Battalion to gain the upper hand in the competition 5 days later. A competition that was already unfair to begin with would become even more unfair. After that, Li Zixuan clasped his fist solemnly towards Qiu Xingong. Duan Zixuan knew that Li Zixuan's words were reasonable. Furthermore, he didn't want the Wu Battalion to lose in the competition 5 days later. Therefore, after listening to Li Zixuan's words, he wanted to nod and agree to Li Zixuan's request. But at this moment, Qiu Xingong couldn't wait any longer and opened his mouth. Adjunct Li Shur is rich and imposing, providing rations for an entire battalion. However, the Black Armored Army is His Majesty's Black Armored Army. By right, it should be supported by the Imperial Court. Adjunct Li said that he wanted to raise the rations for the Wu Battalion himself. Is he trying to raise the Wu Battalion's rations to raise his private army? Heart. Qiu Xingong's words were truly heartrending. He wanted to kill Li. Qiu Xingong also knew that if the current situation was maintained, it would undoubtedly be more beneficial for the 2nd Battalion. If Li Zixuan achieved his goal, then the gap between the Wu Battalion and the 2nd Battalion would shrink even further. Therefore, whether it was for public or private reasons, he had to stop Li Zixuan. Li Zixuan's heart trembled, but his expression didn't change. He definitely wouldn't admit to such a crime. He turned to look at Qiu Xingong and sneered. What? General Qiu, as a general, are you going to learn the techniques of the imperial censors? If you want to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext. I joined the army just to let the soldiers eat their fill and train well so that they can fight for the country in the future. Why did I become an unpardonable traitor in General Qiu's mouth? Also, I wonder if General Qiu has seen the Tang daily the day before yesterday? The rise and fall of the country is the responsibility of the people. When the merchants of the country know that the country is in trouble, they are willing to raise funds for the country. I joined the army and received a salary from the imperial court. What's wrong with helping His Majesty? Don't tell me that watching coldly from the side like General Qiu is the way to be loyal to the country? Hearing this, Qiu Xingong was instantly enraged. When I followed His Majesty to the battlefield to kill the enemy, you didn't even speak yet. How dare a mere brat teach me the way to be loyal to the country? Why don't you weigh your own weight? At this point, Qiu Xingong had already decided to shed all pretense of cordiality. Therefore, this old man kept calling Li Zixuan a brat. It was obvious that he was extremely angry at Li Zixuan. Alright, everyone shut up. Seeing that Li Zixuan and Qiu Xingong were getting more and more out of control, Duan Zixuan finally couldn't help but shout. The Black Armored Army was just expanded a few months ago. Right now, the most important task is to intensify the training and increase the overall strength of the Black Armored Army. Regardless of whether it is the 2nd Battalion or the 5th Battalion, they are all part of the Black Armored Army. Why should we divide them? If the newly expanded Black Armored Army does not have the strength to fight against the Turkic Wolf Riders before the attack on the Turkic Empire, not only will the three of us be punished by His Majesty, Du Jie will also be cursed for life. Therefore, I hope that the two of you can temporarily put aside your differences and work together to restore the Black Armored Army to its peak strength instead of blaming each other here. Duan Zixuan's words weren't biased towards any side. He was completely standing on the position of the Black Armored Army's general. He was stating the pros and cons of Qiu Xingong and Li Zixuan, hoping that the two of them would temporarily stop fighting and focus on the overall situation of the Black Armored Army. Hearing the sharp edge in Duan Zixuan's words, Qiu Xingong instantly fell silent. Li Zixuan clasped his fist and said, "The general is right. Regardless of whether it is the 2nd Battalion or the 5th Battalion, they are all part of the Black Armored Army. However, it is precisely because of this that we cannot treat them differently. We cannot let the 5th Battalion soldiers starve. Therefore, I hope that the general will reconsider." Qiu Xingong wanted to refute, but Duan Zixuan waved his hand and didn't give him the chance to do so. "Alright. We will do as Adjunct Li says. How can soldiers not be fed when they are fighting a war? Pass down my orders. From today onwards, the 5th Battalion's meals will be returned to normal. This matter will be handled by Xingong." Saying this, Duan Zixuan looked at Qiu Xingong. The reason why he handed this matter over to him was because Qiu Xingong was the one in charge of the Black Armored Army's logistics. At this point, Qiu Xingong also knew that he couldn't win against Duan Zixuan. If this continued, he might fall out with Duan Zixuan. If that happened, he might not be able to stay in the Black Armored Army anymore. Therefore, he could only clasp his fist and said, "Yes, sir." After that, he looked at Li Zixuan, his eyes filled with unwillingness. Then, he clasped his fist and said to Qiu Xingong, "I still have military matters to attend to. I shall take my leave first." "Go ahead, Xingong." Duan Zixuan nodded. Qiu Xingong immediately turned and left. Only Duan Zixuan and Li Zixuan were left in the commander's tent. Duan Zixuan looked at Li Zixuan and said, "Adjunct Li, you were a little rash today. Although you were right in this matter, I don't wish for you and Xingong to be at loggerheads in the Black Armored Army. Just like what I said earlier, The Black Armored Army's priority now is to seize the time to train and increase the overall strength of the army. I hope you can understand my painstaking efforts. Hearing this, Li Zixuan nodded and said, "Of course I understand your painstaking efforts. The reason why I joined the Black Armored Army is to increase the strength of the Black Armored Army. What I said earlier was indeed a little too extreme. However, it was all for the sake of the 5th Battalion and the Black Armored Army. Please forgive me. In the future, I will not take the initiative to argue with General Chiu. The Black Armored Army's training will be our priority." Duan Zixuan had taken good care of Li Zixuan in the army. Hence, Li Zixuan didn't make any promises. His words showed that he knew when to advance and when to retreat. He gave Duan Zixuan some face and also made his attitude clear. If others didn't offend him, he wouldn't offend them. As long as Qiu Xingong didn't provoke him, he wouldn't offend him. If Qiu Xingong bullied him, he wouldn't let him off easily. Duan Zixuan could of course hear the hidden meaning in Li Zixuan's words. He was already quite satisfied with this. After interacting with Li Zixuan for so many days, he knew that Li Zixuan wasn't someone who was willing to be taken advantage of. It wasn't easy for Duan Zixuan to make such a concession. He didn't expect Li Zixuan to not retaliate when hit or scolded. That wasn't Li Zixuan's style. "Good. With your words, I can rest assured. You can go back to your work." Duan Zixuan patted Li Zixuan's shoulder and smiled. "I'll take my leave." Li Zixuan clasped his fist and turned around to leave the commander's tent. After leaving the commander's tent and returning to the area where the Wu Battalion was located, the soldiers had already finished their combat training and were starting to train their arm strength. It could be seen that the soldiers of the Wu Battalion were doing push-ups and pull-ups with ease. Just as Li Zixuan had guessed, the soldiers had gradually adapted to the current training method and volume. After all, they were once the elites of their respective guard stations. Their physical fitness was undeniable. Now, if they wanted to continue to improve, then the only way was to increase the volume of training. Li Zixuan didn't plan to tell them about the plan to increase the volume of training and the news that the Wu Battalion would be eating 2 pieces of meat a day. This was because it would disrupt the soldiers' training rhythm. It was best to tell them after the afternoon training. Plus, the Wu Battalion already had meat for lunch. If he didn't tell them, the soldiers wouldn't know that the meals in the Wu Battalion were going back to normal. After watching the soldiers train for a while, Li Zixuan turned around and went to inspect the other battalions. Although the Wu Battalion's overall strength was at the bottom of the Black Armored Army, it was the best training camp among the 4 battalions. Now that the Wu Battalion was going to increase the volume of training, Li Zixuan thought that after 2 days, the A Battalion, C Battalion and D Battalion would also have to increase the volume of training. Duan Zixuan was right about one thing. The Black Armored Army was a whole. The A, B, C, D and E battalions were all members of the Black Armored Army. The reason why Li Zixuan sent him to be the Black Armored Army's adjutant was to improve the overall strength of the Black Armored Army, not just the strength of one battalion. Because of this, he was more concerned about the competition between the Wu Battalion and the B Battalion in 5 days. Only then could the 5 battalions of the Black Armored Army be completely unified in their training methods. Dang, dang, dang. In the blink of an eye, it was already dusk. The gong sounded on the drill ground, signaling the end of the training. After a hard day, the soldiers could finally heave a sigh of relief. Soon they could eat and sleep. Gather in the Wu Battalion. Sun Zhiping didn't announce the disbandment of the Wu Battalion. Instead, he asked everyone to gather. Li Zixuan and Sun Zhiping stood in front of the soldiers. Li Zixuan nodded at Sun Zhiping. Sun Zhiping then looked at the soldiers and said loudly, "I've called everyone here to announce 2 important things. First, from tomorrow onwards, the training load of the soldiers in the Wu Battalion will be increased by 30%. In other words, you will have to run 13 miles in the morning, Do 130 push-ups and 20 pull-ups to pass the test. Those who can't complete the training will be punished by 30%. In addition, the training in the Wu Battalion will end half an hour later every day. The extra half hour will be used to practice martial arts. 3 days later, we will participate in the martial arts competition together with our brothers from the A Battalion, C Battalion and D Battalion. Everyone's eyes widened as they looked at each other. The training load was increased by 30%, and the training time was increased by half an hour. This was crazy. Everyone looked at each other. Although it was hard for them to accept, they didn't say anything because of their good military training. What the F***ck? This Sun Jiping is too much of a scammer. I've just gotten used to the training in the Wu Battalion, and now he wants to increase the training load for everyone? This is too much of a scammer. Ching Chumo wanted to protest, but seeing that no one was making a sound, he thought of the strict military rules of the Black Armored Army. He could only swallow the words that were on the tip of his tongue back into his stomach and curse Sun Jiping inwardly. What he didn't know was that Sun Jiping was just a scapegoat. The one who made this decision was Li Zixuan, not Sun Jiping. Seeing the expressions on everyone's faces, Sun Jiping knew that although they didn't say anything, they must be dissatisfied in their hearts. So he smiled and said, "The second thing is good news for you. From today onwards, the food supply of the Black Armored Army will be back to normal. Everyone can have 2 meals of meat every day. You can eat as much as you want." To the soldiers of the Wu Battalion, this was really good news. Life in the army was already tough, and they had to go through all kinds of tough training. Under such circumstances, they could only have 1 meal of meat every day. How could those tasteless meals fill their stomachs? Now that they heard that the food supply of the Wu Battalion was back to normal, everyone couldn't help but cheer. "Oh, Field Officer Sun is awesome! Field Officer Sun is awesome!" Ching Chumo, who was cursing in his heart just now, also cheered along with everyone else. He thought to himself, "It's not a loss to be able to have 2 meals of meat every day and have 30% more training load." The cheers gradually washed away the slight unhappiness of the soldiers. Just as Ching Chumo thought, to them, under such tough training, they could have 2 meals of meat every day. Even if their training load was increased by 30%, it was still not a loss. "Alright. Dismissed. Go to the kitchen to eat. There's meat in the kitchen tonight." Sun Jiping smiled and waved his hand. Oh! All the soldiers cheered and rushed to the kitchen. Before this, they couldn't eat meat at night. Chapter 1806. Hee. There really is meat in the kitchen tonight, Field Officer Sun, you didn't lie to us. Ha! Outside the kitchen of the Wu camp, Ching Chumo winked at Sun Jiping, who was still queuing up after he got his food. Just now, when Sun Jiping announced the dismissal of the party, this guy had sprinted to the kitchen at the speed of 100 meters. Therefore, when most people were still queuing up, this guy had already gotten his food. That bowl was filled with plump, fresh meat. It was no wonder this guy was so smug. Sun Jiping smiled and didn't say anything, because in the Wu camp, he was the only one who knew how hard it was to restore 2 meals a day. "Hey! You guys wait in line, I'll go eat first." Same old place. Ching Chumo laughed and didn't forget to tease Yuchi Baolin before he left. "Haha, Baolin, your running speed is not good. Looks like you need to practice more in the future when you're running with armor on." After that, Ching Chumo held his bowl and walked proudly towards the foot of the wall not far away. That was the place where he, Li Zixuan, Sun Jiping, Yuchi Baolin and the others always ate together. "Field Officer, why did our camp suddenly restore 2 meals a day? Didn't we lose to the other 4 camps before, so we got cut off 1 meal a day?" Ching Chumo was a muddle-headed person, but not everyone in the Wu camp was muddle-headed. There were still people who wanted to know why the normal food supply was restored. A big guy who was queuing beside Sun Jiping and Li Zixuan asked Sun Jiping. This person was Wang Rong, a squad leader from the first team of the E Battalion. The two of them had met once when Li Zishuan was patrolling the camp a few days ago. Ding Dali, who was bewitched by Sun Tao and incited the soldiers to mutiny, was a soldier under Wang Rong. That's right. Field officer, that competition was arranged by General Chiu, and it was also General Chiu who set the punishment rules. Why is he so kind to restore 2 meals a day for us? Another soldier behind Wang Rong interjected at this moment. Although Sun Jiping was very strict with his subordinates during training, he could often get along well with the soldiers outside of the school. Hearing this, he glared at Wang Rong and the others and said in a bad mood, You still have the nerve to ask? If it wasn't for you guys who insisted on participating in the competition set by General Chiu, how could our rations be reduced so openly? You know it's a trap, but you people still don't listen to advice and jump in. Sun Jiping's words had a hint of exasperation in them. When Wang Rong heard that, he scratched his head in embarrassment. Back then, he had also wanted to join the competition and teach Chen Datong a lesson. But who would have thought that the Wu Battalion would suffer a crushing defeat and become the weakest of the black armored troops? Even though he was a little embarrassed, Wang Rong was still a little unconvinced. Lieutenant, although we were a little impulsive in that competition, but that bastard Chen Datong brought the 2nd Battalion people to steal our rations. If we were to swallow our anger and not teach that bastard a lesson, wouldn't we become cowards? Squad leader Wang is right, it was the 2nd Battalion who provoked us first. They even took a sh*T on us. How can we be cowards? As soon as Wang Rong finished speaking, a few soldiers around him echoed in agreement. What happened in the end? Seeing this, Sun Jiping sneered and said, In the end, the Wu Battalion became the last in the entire army. Not only did we become the laughing stock of the entire army, but our rations were also reduced openly. At this point, Wang Rong and the others lowered their heads in shame, but none of them admitted their mistake. They were ashamed because the Wu Battalion was indeed not as good as the other battalions, but none of them thought that it was a mistake to accept the competition. This was the stubbornness of a soldier. Sun Jiping changed the topic and continued, If it wasn't for Colonel Li who pleaded with the Grand General today, all of you would only be able to eat meat once a day. I hope you'll remember this lesson and not act recklessly in the future. When everyone heard this, they finally understood why the Wu Battalion's rations were restored today. Wang Rong and the others who were nearby all cupped their fists towards Li Zishuan and said, Thank you for joining the army. Thank you, Colonel, for pleading for us in front of the Grand General. Sun Jiping's voice was very loud just now, and it should have been mixed with true qi when he spoke. Very quickly, the soldiers in the other lines more or less heard the reason, and they all cupped their fists towards Li Zishuan. Li Zishuan didn't expect Sun Jiping to do this to the Wu Battalion soldiers. He actually didn't want to tell the soldiers the truth, but since things had already come to this, he wanted to use this opportunity to boost their morale. He waved his hand at the surrounding soldiers and said loudly, All right, don't be so polite. This time I went to plead for you in front of the Grand General, not because I sympathize with you, and not because I want you to be grateful to me. I just want to give you a chance to have a fair battle with the 2nd Battalion. More than a month ago, the competition between the 5 battalions of the Black Armored Army was extremely unfair to the Wu Battalion soldiers, who were all new recruits. At that time, you all took the initiative to accept the challenge, so I won't blame you. Similarly, Field Officer Sun won't blame you either. Because a real man is born in this world, there are things that you can do, and things that you can't do. You can be killed, but you can't be humiliated. You all knew that you were no match for them, but you still accepted the challenge. This proves that you all have backbone and courage. The reason why you all lost in the end was because the Wu Battalion had just been established. You all didn't know each other well, so it was naturally difficult for you to win against the other battalions in terms of battle formation. A person's backbone and courage are innate, but strength can be nurtured. This is also one of the reasons why I have never given up on the Wu Battalion. Because I believe that as long as you all train hard for a period of time, you will definitely not be weaker than any of the other 4 battalions of the Black Armored Army. The shame of being the last battalion in the Black Armored Army shouldn't fall on your heads. Now, you all are the same as the 2nd Battalion. You all can eat 2 meals of meat every day. I hope that you all can work harder in your training. In the competition between the 2 battalions 5 days later, I hope that you all can defeat the 2nd Battalion beautifully to wipe away the shame and tell everyone that the Wu Battalion isn't the last. Only in this way can we prove that our brothers in the Wu Battalion are not cowards. Li Zishuan's words were quite provocative. Most of the men in the army were hot-blooded. Otherwise, this group of men in the Wu Battalion wouldn't have accepted the challenge without thinking about the consequences. At this time, after hearing Li Zishuan's words, no matter if it was those who were getting their food, or those who hadn't gotten their food yet, they all looked towards Li Zishuan, waved their fists and shouted, "We, the members of the Wu Battalion, are not cowards. In the competition 5 days later, I will hammer those bastards in the 2nd Battalion to death. Rest assured, Colonel, we will train hard. This time, the Wu Battalion will definitely not lose. The Wu Battalion is not cowards. The Wu Battalion will definitely win." Thousands of words were finally summed up into one sentence. The Wu Battalion is not cowards. The Wu Battalion will definitely win. Outside the Wu Battalion's kitchen, there was a burst of loud cheers. The soldiers who had been training for a whole day and were tired and hungry were now shouting as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Li Zishuan was very suspicious. If the 2nd Battalion came here now, would this group of people rush up and beat them up? Using the past conflicts, using the honor and competitiveness of the soldiers, to arouse the fighting spirit in the hearts of the soldiers. This was what Li Zishuan wanted to do, and he did it. During the opening ceremony of Yanhuang College last year, Li Zishuan gave a speech to the teachers and students of Yanhuang College. He described the bright future of engineering, which made the teachers and students of Yanhuang College go crazy. Qing Yaojin, who was present at that time, couldn't help but sigh in private. This kid is really good at stirring up people's hearts. In the future, when we catch him in the army and let him shout a few words like this, wouldn't those bastards be screaming and going to kill people? There seemed to be some kind of mysterious connection in the unseen world. The sentence that Qing Yaojin secretly sighed in secret was now really coming true. Looking at the posture of the soldiers of the Wu Battalion now, weren't they going to scream and kill people? Hey, Xiao Xian, I say, your ability to stir up people's hearts is too amazing. After the soldiers shouted for a while, Li Zishuan asked them to hurry up and eat. Shouting slogans was just as bad as not enough. Shouting slogans occasionally could boost people's morale, but shouting too much would make people tired. Carrying their bowls, Qing Chumo came to the place where they often squatted down to eat. At this time, he winked at Li Zishuan and said, "Being born in a family of generals, and having such a powerful father, Qing Chumo was quite familiar with some of the things and methods in the army. So he naturally knew that what Li Zishuan said just now was just a tactic used by generals to boost morale." Hearing this, Li Zishuan stood up and was about to kick Qing Chumo's butt, but this guy nimbly dodged it. Li Zishuan glared at this idiot and said unhappily, "If you don't know how to talk, then talk less. What do you mean by stirring up people's hearts? I was trying to boost morale, what do you know?" At this time, Yuchi Baolin was chewing on a piece of fatty meat. Before he could swallow it, he followed behind Li Zishuan and added, "Oh, Brother Chonyo, I heard you shouting just now, and you shouted louder than Wang Rong and the others." This was a good stab. When Qing Chumo heard this, his small face instantly darkened. Although he knew that it was just a small tactic used by Li Zishuan to boost morale, when the soldiers shouted their slogans, he couldn't help but shout behind them. There was no other way. Who asked Li Zishuan's words to be too much for his temper and too encouraging? If this was brainwashing, Then he was more than happy to be brainwashed by Li Zixuan. Ha ha. Baolin, if you know how to talk, then talk more in the future. Seeing Qing Chumo's embarrassed face, Li Zixuan couldn't help but laugh loudly. Then he patted Baolin's shoulder and said, Come, Baolin, I can't finish all this meat, I'll give it all to you. There were both fatty and lean meats in the kitchen, but in the end there was still more fatty meat. Even though the conditions in the army were tough, Li Zixuan still didn't like to eat fatty meat. He would rather eat vegetables than fatty meat. However, Qing Chumo and Yuchi Baolin weren't picky eaters. When they heard that Li Zixuan wanted to share the meat, Qing Chumo and Yuchi Baolin's eyes lit up. Yuchi Baolin was the closest, so he hurriedly extended his bowl over and chuckled. Thank you, Yamacho. Li Zixuan pushed the meat into Baolin's bowl as he said helplessly, How many times have I told you? In the army, in private, just call me by my name like a virgin. You just can't change it. Yuchi Baolin scratched his head and laughed foolishly, but didn't say anything. Even though Li Zixuan treated him and Qing Chumo as brothers, he respected Li Zixuan from the bottom of his heart, so he wouldn't call Li Zixuan by his name. Hey! How can Baolin eat so much by himself? Little Xian, share half with me. I'll help you finish it. How could Qing Chumo miss out on such a good thing? When he saw the situation, he immediately picked up his bowl and moved over. Brother Chonyo, I can finish it all by myself. Yuchi Baolin couldn't tolerate anyone doubting his appetite, so he immediately retorted. Qing Chumo opened his mouth and almost cursed out loud. Sigh, little Xian, why did I take things so hard and insist on joining the army with you? It's so tiring to train here, and I didn't have enough to eat before. Luckily, I can eat meat twice a day from now on. At night, after a tiring day, Qing Chumo was lying on his bed after washing up. He looked at Li Zixuan, who was still reading under the candlelight, and couldn't help but complain. Li Zixuan was reading the military book Li Zixuan had imparted to him, Mirror of the Six Armies. Even though the book only had a few thousand words, the meaning behind it was profound and required repeated reading. Otherwise, Li Zixuan, who had powerful mental strength and could read 10 lines at a glance, would have finished the entire book long ago. At this moment, when he heard Qing Chumo's words, Li Zixuan didn't even lift his eyes. Instead, he said calmly, Didn't you always want to join the army and go to the battlefield? What? Now that you've suffered a little, you want to back out? Qing Chumo thought for a moment and replied, I won't back out. You didn't back out. I'm your brother, so how can I back out? Besides, it's true that I've always wanted to join the army. You also know that Baolin and I aren't cut out for studying. How can studying compare to going to the battlefield and killing enemies? It's just that the Black Armored Army isn't a place for people to stay. Especially that new training manual of yours. It's much more tiring than the training of the other guards in the capital. After a pause, Qing Chumo suddenly said, I was just thinking that if I didn't come with you to the Black Armored Army, I would have gone up north with Qin Ke to fix the telegraph relay station. We could go sightseeing, eat good food, and drink good wine. Wouldn't that be much better than staying in the army? Qin Ke, hearing Qing Chumo mention Qin Ke, Li Zixuan couldn't help but frown. A hint of worry appeared on his face. He said calmly, This time, Qin Ke is bringing people up north because she has an important mission. Do you think she's going sightseeing and eating good food? As long as you can ensure that she doesn't have to worry about anything, I hope that you can accompany her instead of following me to the army. Sigh. At this point, Li Zixuan stood up, his face full of worry. Chapter 1807. What's wrong? Little Xian, why do you sound like Qin Ke will be in danger this time? In the tent, Qing Chumo quivered after hearing Li Zixuan's words and quickly asked. His words clearly revealed a sense of concern. Before last year, Qing Chumo had deliberately kept a distance from Li Tai. At that time, Li Tai and Li Qingqian were fighting for the throne in the palace. Qing Chumo could not allow his son to get involved, so whether it was Li Chengqian or Li Tai, he had always kept a distance from them. However, after Yanwang College was established and he had been Li Tai's classmate for more than a year, the two had established a certain friendship. Although they were not as close as brothers, they were still good friends. Thus, after hearing Li Zishuan's words, Qing Chumo was slightly nervous. Yuqi Baolin also had the same reaction. The latter sat up from the couch and looked worriedly at Li Zishuan. Of course there is danger. Li Zishuan nodded and said in a low voice, now that the Tang Empire and the Turks are at daggers drawn and both sides have deployed their troops at the border, a war could break out at any moment. At such a sensitive time, if Qingke brings the academy's teachers and students north, it will attract the attention of the Turk spies in the Tang Empire. Although I heard from General Duan that His Majesty has sent 1,000 imperial guards to escort the academy to the north, and the leaders are the two brothers Dugu Xian and Dugu Feiying, it is easier to dodge an open spear than an arrow in the dark. 1,000 imperial guards cannot protect Qingke and the others at all times. If the Turks really want to secretly attack Qingke and the others, they are likely to succeed. Qing Chumo panicked when he heard this. He hit his head and said irritably, then what should we do? Little Xian, you always have a lot of ideas. Quickly think of something. We can't let anything happen to Qingke and the others, right? Why you and Iron Egg are still inside. At the very beginning, Qing Chumo had thought that this trip to the north was just a training mission assigned by the academy to Li Tai. Anyway, they were in the Tang Empire and would not encounter any danger. All they had to do was to set up the telegraph relay stations in Taiyuan and Yunzhou. However, after hearing Li Zishuan's words, he realized that things were not as simple as he thought. This was no ordinary training trip. His life might be in danger. At this moment, Qing Chumo could not help but regret not going north with Li Tai, Iron Egg, and the others. Hearing this, Li Zishuan couldn't help but feel helpless. Think of a way. Think of a solution? You and I are in the army now, and Qingke and the others are probably about to reach Taiyuan. Even if I have 1,000 plans, what can I do? What's more, what's the current situation on their side? Do the Turks know the purpose of their journey north? We don't know anything about this. How am I supposed to think of a solution? Then what should we do? Qing Chumo was at a loss for words. After a while, he opened his mouth and asked. Wait. After a long silence, Li Zishuan said, the only thing we can do now is wait. We can only wait for Qingke to send back news. We can only hope that the Turks have no time to care about what's going on here, or that Qingke can predict the danger ahead of time and proceed with caution. Aren't you just wasting your breath? When Qing Chumo heard this, he immediately rolled his eyes and said dejectedly, then tell me, what good ideas do you have? Li Zishuan glanced at this fellow and said in annoyance. What ideas do I have? Qing Chumo was instantly rendered speechless. He was the king of words. He could scold others, but to ask him to come up with some substantial suggestions was making things difficult for him. Li Zishuan also knew this fellow's personality, so he did not press him. Shaking his head, he said, Qingke and the others should be arriving in Taiyuan City in 2 days. If there's a situation there, she should immediately send me a telegram. Thus, someone needs to be guarding the telegraph machine for the next 2 days. If Qingke sends a message, I'll be able to receive it immediately. This way, it'll be easier for me to come up with a plan. Little Xian, I can do this. Let me do it? Qing Chumo's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly volunteered. Guarding the telegraph machine in the tent meant that he wouldn't have to train bitterly on the drilling ground for the next 2 days. For Qing Chumo, who else could take this opportunity but himself? He would fight anyone who tried to take it from him. Thus, after saying that, he deliberately looked at Yuqi Baolin, who was next to him, and gave him a crazy look. Although Yuqi Baolin was straightforward, he was not stupid. He could tell what Ching Chumo wanted to say, so he did not say anything. He wanted to give this opportunity to Ching Chumo. You? If I let you stay in the tent and guard the telegraph machine, I'm afraid you'll fall asleep in less than 2 hours. Li Zishuan glanced at Ching Chumo and said indifferently, "Leave this matter to Baolin. Baolin is usually more meticulous and responsible than you. You'd better put your mind to training and stop thinking about other things." He would not forget that he had sent Ching Chumo to help in the kitchen a few days ago, but this guy had hidden in the pile of firewood and fallen asleep. Although Ching Chumo had coincidentally stumbled upon Zhang Kongyan's plot, it also showed how unreliable this guy was. Furthermore, Baolin's martial arts realm was slightly higher than Ching Chumo's, so Li Zishuan did not want Ching Chumo to miss the next 2 days of training. Otherwise, this guy would fall further and further behind the rest. Little Xian, you can't do this. I promise, I'll guard the telegraph machine well and won't slack off. Hearing that, Ching Chumo was dumbfounded. Li Zishuan was not moved at all. He looked at Baolin and asked, "Baolin, I'll leave this matter to you. You should be fine, right? I don't need you to translate the message. When the telegraph machine rings, just get someone to call me over." Baolin looked troubled. He looked at Ching Chumo, who was shaking his head at him, and then at Li Zishuan. After hesitating for a while, he finally nodded and said, "Yamacho, don't worry. I'll take care of the telegraph machine for you." He did not want to disappoint Li Zishuan. Moreover, he knew that the final decision was Li Zishuan's, and Li Zishuan's decision was usually not easily changed. Whether he agreed or not, Li Zishuan would probably not leave this matter to Ching Chumo. Good. Then I'm relieved. Li Zishuan walked over and patted Baolin's shoulder with a gratified smile. By this time, Ching Chumo knew that it was impossible for him to succeed, so he lay back down on the bed and said in a strange tone, "Hey, Xiao Xian, if you ask me, your method won't work either. You just said that we're all in the army, but Qin and the others are far away in Taiyuan. Even if they send you a telegram, you won't be able to help them in time. If you ask me, you should have let me go to Taiyuan with Qin and the others from the beginning instead of coming to the army camp. With a master like me protecting them, who cares what kind of monsters come? Old Ching, will cut them all down with a knife." It was easy for this guy to brag. Li Zishuan could not help but laugh. "You? A master? Master. Master. Yes, how could I forget him?" He wanted to mock Ching Chumo, but he suddenly thought of someone. He knocked his head and turned back to his bed to get the telegraph. He placed it on the table and began to send the telegram. Beep, 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 beep. Soon, a string of messages was sent out. Ching Chumo was dumbfounded at this time. He wondered, "Xiao Xian, who did you think of? Also, who are you sending the telegram to now?" Li Zishuan ignored him and sat by the table, quietly waiting for a response from the other side of the telegraph. Beep, beep, beep. After about half a cup of tea's time, the telegraph on the table finally rang. Li Zishuan perked up and listened carefully for a moment. When the telegraph stopped ringing, he began to send the telegram again. Beep, 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 beep. The whole process lasted about a quarter of an hour. Ching Chumo could only watch in confusion. He wanted to ask, but Li Zishuan did not say anything. At this time, when Li Zishuan finished sending the telegram and was about to put away the telegraph, Ching Chumo finally could not hold back. He quickly asked, "Xiao Xian, can you tell me who you were sending the telegram to just now?" Li Zishuan put away the telegraph leisurely, smiled, and then said mysteriously, "A master. You don't know him anyway. Go to sleep. Tomorrow's training will be increased by 30%. A master? I don't know him? Who is it?" When Ching Chumo heard this, he became even more curious. How could he sleep at this time? So, he chased after Li Zishuan to get to the bottom of it. But what made him gnash his teeth was that Li Zishuan just refused to tell him. If he could beat Li Zishuan, Li Zishuan would probably have been beaten up 800 times by now. The moon was bright and the stars were sparse. Taiyuan, Wang family's ancestral home. At this time, most of the people in the deep courtyard had already gone to bed. An old man in a gray robe with high cheekbones and gray hair came alone to the grievance hall on the west side. In terms of physiognomy, cheekbones corresponded to power. Generally speaking, people with high cheekbones had a great desire for power. "Second Elder, you're here? Please come in." When he arrived at the entrance of the grievance hall, a man came out and bowed to the old man. "Second Elder?" This old man was the second elder of the Wang family of Taiyuan, Wang Kuei, Wang Bing's younger brother. In the history of the North, in order to avoid Li Yuan's father, Li Kuei, Wang Bing was changed to Wang Kong. The man who came out to greet him was Shao Qing. The old man only paused for a moment. He didn't even look at Shao Qing before he walked towards the grievance hall. As for the guards at the entrance of the grievance hall, it was unknown where they went tonight. As a result, there was no one guarding the entrance of the grievance hall. Rennie greets second elder. When Wang Kuei came to the grievance hall, a young man dressed neatly walked out of the room quickly. Then, he respectfully bowed 5 steps in front of Wang Kuei. Wang Kuei's gaze fell on Wang Rennie. He was silent for a long time before he said indifferently, "I heard that you came to find me for an extremely urgent matter. Moreover, it concerns the life and death of my Wang family of Taiyuan. Now that I'm here, you can speak." Wang Rennie straightened his body and said calmly, "This grievance hall is not a place to talk. Second elder, please move to the side hall for a chat." Finished speaking, Wang Rennie made an inviting gesture. Wang Kuei hesitated for a moment before he nodded and said, "Okay. Then I'll listen to you speak. If I find out that you're exaggerating and trying to scare me, I won't let you off easily." Finished speaking, Wang Kuei flicked his sleeves and walked towards the inner room. Chapter 1808. Can you speak now? Taiyuan, Wang family ancestral residence, grievance hall. Wang Kuei walked into the side hall and sat down at the head of the table. He looked at Wang Rennie and said expressionlessly, "Since Wang Yu had imprisoned Wang Rennie here last year and forbade any member of the family from stepping into the grievance hall, Wang Kuei had taken a certain risk by coming here tonight. However, as the second elder of the Wang family, it was easy for him to send away the guards outside the courtyard. If Wang Renbiao could say something that piqued his interest tonight, he would naturally be happy. If not, then Wang Renbiao would not have a good time. I heard yesterday that my eldest brother got married in Qizhou, and the person he married is the daughter of a merchant. What is second elder's opinion on this?" Wang Rennie cupped his hands and said. Wang Kuei frowned and said unhappily, "Humph. This is your eldest branch's matter. What opinion can this old man have? Now the Wang family of Taiyuan has lost all face because of your eldest branch." Members of aristocratic families had always been insufferably arrogant, and the innate superiority in their hearts was deeply ingrained. Wang Kuei was the staunchest opponent of Wang Renbiao marrying Li Jingqiu among the elders of the Wang family. Even with Li Zishuan's letter, he still opposed this marriage. In his view, Li Jingqiu was not worthy of marrying into the Wang family, and even less worthy of marrying the eldest son of the Wang family. Li Zishuan had no right to interfere in the Wang family's affairs. Therefore, Wang Kuei did not approve of Li Zishuan's letter. Hearing this, Wang Rennie's expression did not change, but he was laughing in his heart. He cupped his hands again and said, "The Wang family is a 1,000-year-old family, and my eldest brother is the eldest son of the Wang family. This matter is indeed lacking in consideration. However, second elder, have you thought about why my father, who has always put the family's interests first, agreed to my eldest brother's marriage this time?" Wang Kuei's face darkened. He frowned and said, "What do you mean?" Wang Rennie was neither flustered nor slow as he said seriously, "My father is scared. My grandfather is also afraid. That's why no one dares to stop my elder brother's marriage. This time, without waiting for Wang Kuei to ask, Wang Rennie continued. Rennie heard that the woman my big brother married was recognized as his foster sister by the Marquis of Yong'an. Now, the Marquis of Yong'an is in the limelight in the imperial court. Not only did he become a marquis at such a young age, he was even conferred the position of provincial governor of a province by the emperor. He is in charge of the military and political power of a province. He recognized that woman as his adopted sister because he wanted to facilitate this marriage. In the past few years, the aristocratic families have been in a state of turmoil, and the suppression of the aristocratic families by the imperial power has become an indisputable fact. My father and grandfather are unwilling to offend the Marquis of Eternal Peace, so they have chosen to acquiesce in this matter. They lowered their heads to the Marquis of Yong'an, which is the same as lowering their heads to the imperial court. My big brother, as the eldest son of the first wife, ignored the interests of the clan and committed such a grave mistake. He should have been stripped of his status as the eldest son of the first wife, but because of the intervention of the Marquis of Yong'an, nothing happened. It's laughable that our Wang family's 1,000 years of glory is now lowering our heads to a small marquis. Truly laughable. Towards the end, Wang Rennie's deliberately calm face lost some of his composure. His voice also became filled with unwillingness and madness. Shut up. Although Wang Kuei did not approve of the marriage between Wang Renbiao and Li Jingqiu, he would not allow others to humiliate the Wang family. After all, he was the second elder of the Wang family. At this moment, a trace of understanding flashed across his furious eyes. He looked at Wang Rennie and sneered. It seems that you are very jealous of your big brother and want to borrow this old man's strength to replace him? Dream on. You are only a bastard son of the eldest son. What right do you have to dare to covet the position of the future head of the Wang family? Chapter 1809. Then second elder is willing to let me be adopted by the second branch? In the side hall of the grievance hall, Wang Rennie looked at Wang Kuei and cupped his hands. Wang Kuei stroked his beard and pretended to be indifferent. I'm naturally happy that you're willing to be adopted by the second branch. Your second uncle has been married for many years and still doesn't have a son. You being adopted by him can be considered as fulfilling a wish of mine for many years. However, you have to get your father's consent. After all, you're his son. Wang Rennie's face flashed with resentment when he heard this. He said coldly, He never had a son like me in his heart. Otherwise, he wouldn't have imprisoned me here for an outsider, and he wouldn't have sent my mother back to the ancestral home from Sui province. Since he doesn't have a son like me in his heart, what right does he have to stop me from being adopted? As long as second elder and second uncle agree, I'll write a letter tomorrow and inform him of this matter. At that time, I only need second elder to help me say a few words in the clan, and he definitely won't stop me from being adopted by the second branch, because he only has Wang Renbiao as his son in his heart. Wang Kuei nodded and said, Good. If Wang Yu obstructs you in this matter, I'll speak up for you in the clan. Hong'er hasn't had a son for many years. I believe that big brother, third brother, and fourth brother will give me some face. Wang Rennie wanted to be adopted by the second branch, and the second branch just happened to have no children. The two sides really hit it off. In that case, Rennie thanks second elder. Wang Rennie's expression had returned to normal at this time. He cupped his hands and said to Wang Kuei. Wang Kuei's face turned solemn, and he said in a deep voice, Then can you tell me your plan now? Compared to taking in a grandson, Wang Kuei was undoubtedly more concerned about how to strengthen the Wang family and seize the family's power. He was very dissatisfied with the Wang family's current decline. Of course, he was even more dissatisfied with the Wang family's current power. Wang Rennie frowned and said, I can tell second elder, but before I tell you the overall plan, second elder has to help me do something. What is it? Wang Kuei frowned. At this time, some displeasure had already risen in his heart. You haven't done anything yet, and you want me to do something for you? How could there be such a good thing in this world? Wang Ren looked at Wang Kuei with a determined gaze and said, I need second elder to help me break free from my imprisonment. I want to leave this grievance hall. Hearing this, Wang Ku looked directly into Wang Ren's eyes. He had reason to suspect that Wang Ren was trying to use him to help him break free from his imprisonment. However, he could not see a trace of deceit or evasion in Wang Ren's eyes. This proved that Wang Ren's acting skills were either superb, so superb that he could deceive his experienced eyes. If not, then everything Wang Ren said before was the truth. After staring at Wang Ren for over 10 breaths of time, Wang Kuei shook his head and said, It was your father, Wang Yu, who imprisoned you here. Even though I'm his senior, he's still the current patriarch of the Wang clan, so I have no right to release you. Wang Ren seemed to be mentally prepared for this. Hearing this, he insisted, In the past, second elder would indeed find it difficult to release me, but now, I'm about to become a member of the second branch, which means I'm second elder's grandson. The one who committed a mistake and was imprisoned was Wang Yu's son, not your grandson. If I'm still locked up in the grievance hall, then what face will the Wang clan's second branch have left? I believe that as long as second elder puts pressure on my father with the other elders, he will definitely not refuse to give you face. Moreover, this plan can't do without me. Only when I leave the grievance hall can the plan succeed. At that time, I can help second elder seize power in the clan. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Wang Ren's initiative to be adopted by the Wang clan's second branch was really killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Not only could he gain Wang Kuei's trust, but he could also use this to get out of his current predicament. Just think about it, the Wang clan's second branch only had Wang Hong, but he didn't have a son for so many years. If this continued, the Wang clan's second branch was likely to be cut off. In this case, if Wang Ren took the initiative to be adopted by the second branch, Wang Kuei only needed to sell his pitiful image in the clan, and the other elders of the Wang clan would agree to let Wang Ren be adopted by Wang Hong. After Wang Ren was adopted by the second branch, Wang Yu couldn't continue to imprison Wang Ren, could he? That would be equivalent to slapping the second branch in the face. Although the Wang clan's first branch was stronger than the second branch in terms of strength, between the 2 branches, at least on the surface, they had to maintain harmony. Therefore, on this matter, Wang Yu was very likely to compromise. At that time, Wang Ren would be able to get what he wanted and completely regain his freedom. Wang Kuei's eyes narrowed. After hearing Wang Ren's words, he quickly understood the crux of the matter. He couldn't help but feel a wave of emotions in his heart. This Wang Ren was so young, but his mind was so meticulous. If he was adopted by the second branch, he might really be able to help the second branch seize power in the clan in the future. Boy, you've thought it through quite thoroughly. This old man will agree to this matter. Tomorrow, you will write a letter to your father, and this old man will first discuss the matter of your adoption with big brother and third brother. Once you are adopted by the second branch, this old man will naturally help you leave the grievance hall. After pondering for a moment, Wang Kuei said lightly, If Wang Ren was adopted by the second branch and released from prison, it was in the interest of the second branch. Wang Kuei had no reason to disagree. Of course, what Wang Kuei cared about most was the plan that Wang Ren mentioned. Thank you, second elder. Hearing this, Wang Ren couldn't help but let out a long sigh and cupped his hands. At this point, his purpose of inviting Wang Kuei over tonight had basically been achieved. Since this old man has promised you, then I will definitely do it. Now, can you tell this old man about your plan? Wang Kuei stroked his beard and asked somewhat impatiently. Wang Ren smiled mysteriously and took a step forward. Of course, in a dim and dilapidated room, several youths were bound to wooden stakes with iron shackles on their hands. Their hair was disheveled, and their bodies were riddled with wounds. There were also several bloody marks on their faces. Around them stood several burly soldiers. Judging from their leather armor, they were actually Turkic soldiers. Smack! Hurry up and speak. What is your purpose in coming to Taiyuan? One of the Turkic soldiers suddenly whipped one of the youths in the face. In an instant, another deep bloody mark appeared on the youth's face. But what was strange was that this Turkic soldier actually spoke in Han, and he spoke very fluently. He didn't seem like a Turkic at all, but a native of the Central Plains. Tui! Unexpectedly, the youth didn't seem to feel any pain. Instead, he spat a mouthful of bloody saliva on the soldier's face and mocked, "Dream on! As a student of Yanwang College, I will never betray the college and the great Tang. On the other hand, you people are clearly Han, but you are willing to be the lackeys of the Turks. I'm afraid you have even forgotten the surname of your ancestors. A bunch of beasts who have forgotten their ancestors. Tui! Bastard! You're courting death." The soldier was furious when he heard this. He whipped the youth's head again. Blood immediately flowed out. The youth let out a muffled groan and lowered his head. He no longer had any signs of life. "Stop! Come at me if you dare!" The young man near the door shouted loudly at this time. "Heh! You are the king of Wei of the Great Tang. How can we bear to kill you so easily?" The Turkic soldier in the lead walked over and looked at the youth with a sinister smile. This youth was actually the king of Wei, Li Tai. With that, the leader of the Turkic soldiers turned around and ordered, "Continue whipping him. Beat him to death. I'd like to see if these brats' mouths are tougher or if my whip is tougher." The soldier who had been whipping the youth earlier replied, "Yes, leader." Smack! Hurry up and speak. What is your purpose in coming to Taiyuan, you people of Yanwang College? In the room, the sounds of whipping and yelling could be heard. The leader of the Turkic soldiers looked at Li Tai and said coldly, "How about it? Your Highness, are you going to speak or not? If you don't say it now, your companions will all die in front of you one by one. Once they are all dead, it will be your turn." You trash. Let us go if you know what's good for you. Otherwise, when my reinforcements arrive, I will tear you to shreds. Li Tai was so angry that his face was pale. He looked at the leader of the soldiers and shouted, "Yo! Our king of Wei sure has a temper." The leader of the Turkic soldiers laughed sinisterly. Then, his expression changed and he slapped Li Tai. He said fiercely, "Tui! Do you really think you are the king of Wei? Here, you are just a dog. You have to do whatever I tell you to do." He waved his hand and said to his subordinates, "Kill one. Let our king of Wei see who is in charge here." "Yes, leader," the executioner quickly replied. Then, without hesitation, he pulled out his sword and pointed it at the head of the young man in front of him. No. Iron egg. When Li Tai saw this, he couldn't help but widen his eyes in anger. However, he was still shackled and could only watch as the soldier raised his blade and chopped down. A round head rolled onto the ground. "Hey, how about it? You should speak now, right?" The leader of the soldiers patted Li Tai's face and laughed sinisterly. Li Tai stared at the leader of the soldiers. His eyes were filled with hatred. It was as if he wanted to pierce through the head of the soldier in front of him. The leader of the soldiers saw that Li Tai was not speaking. He waved his hand again and said, "All right. Since our king of Wei won't speak, we will continue killing." "Yes, leader." Bam! Another human head fell to the ground. "Kill again. Kill again." After a while, except for Li Tai, the rest of the young men in the room were all beheaded. The leader of the soldiers looked at Li Tai and asked, "It's your turn now. I will ask you again. Are you going to speak or not?" Bah! Unexpectedly, Li Tai spat and scolded, "Shameless bastard. I am the king of Wei of the great Tang Empire. I will not betray my country, and I will not betray my ancestors like you. If you want to kill me, just do it." You are courting death. The leader of the soldiers wiped the saliva off his face. Then, he pulled out his scimitar and stabbed it at Li Tai's chest. No! Don't! Imperial Palace, West Court, Li Jing Palace. Empress Zhongsun suddenly sat up on the bed. She was panting heavily, and her forehead was drenched in sweat. Her face was full of panic. Guanyin maid, what's wrong? Li Er, who was sleeping, also sat up when he heard the commotion. He patted Empress Zhongsun's shoulder and asked softly. So it was a dream. Empress Zhongsun only reacted when she heard Li Er's voice. She couldn't help but mutter to herself. Chapter 1810. Guanyin maid, you're saying that you dreamed that Qingke was captured by the Turks? In Empress Zhongsun's chambers in the Imperial Palace's West Court, Empress Zhongsun, who had just awoken from her nightmare, gave Li Er a brief account of her dream. Li Er frowned thoughtfully. Empress Zhongsun still had lingering fears. It was clear that she had yet to recover from her dream. She tightly gripped Li Er's hand and said in a trembling voice, Erlang, this concubine feels that this isn't a dream. This dream is too real. Moreover, Qingke and the others should be arriving in Taiyuan soon. Do you think that something has happened to Qingke? It was said that a mother would worry when a son traveled 1,000 li. Moreover, Li Tai had never been so far from the imperial palace since his birth. Moreover, the great Tang and the Turks were currently at daggers drawn, so how could Empress Zhongsun not worry? Hearing this, Li Er's heart couldn't help but sink. He was originally slightly worried about Li Tai's safety. Otherwise, he wouldn't have sent so many imperial guards to follow Li Tai up north. At this moment, when he heard Empress Zhongsun narrate such a realistic nightmare, Li Er couldn't help but have a bad premonition in his heart. Despite this, Li Er's expression remained normal. He lightly patted Empress Zhongsun's back and comforted her. This is just a dream. Guanyin maid, don't think too much. Qingke has 1,000 imperial army soldiers protecting her, and the two brothers of the Duga clan are both top-class experts. Nothing will happen to her, much less in Taiyuan. Taiyuan Prefecture has 70,000 soldiers, and there are several barriers between Taiyuan and the Turks. What you saw in your dream can't possibly be real. Relax and don't think too much. These words were not only for Empress Zhongsun to hear, but also for himself to hear. In his view, Li Tai's defense was so strong that it was impossible for what Empress Zhongsun had seen in her dream to happen. But this concubine's heart is still not at ease. Erlang, has there been any news from Qingke recently? Empress Zhongsun patted her chest and panted a few times before turning to Li Er. She was already suffering from qi, and although she had gradually recovered after half a year of recuperation, she suddenly felt that it was a little difficult to breathe when she was agitated. Li Er also clearly felt Empress Zhongsun's abnormality. He held Empress Zhongsun's hand and said, Qingke hasn't sent back a message yet, but that's the best news. He brought a telegraph with him on this trip. If something happens, he'll definitely send a telegram back immediately. If you are still worried, I will have someone send him a telegram tomorrow morning to ask about the situation on his side. Don't worry too much for now. Relax and continue to rest. It's still early before daybreak. Li Er's affirmative tone made Empress Zhongsun feel slightly at ease. She let out a light sigh and said with a nod, All right. Erlang, remember to send a telegram to Qingke tomorrow. Also, send someone to inform me when Qingke returns. Ordering the emperor to do things was somewhat out of line for the empress, but Li Er and Empress Zhongsun had been husband and wife since young and had deep feelings for each other. He naturally would not care about this. He smiled and comforted, Guanyin's servant, don't worry. If there is news tomorrow, Zhen will send someone to inform you. Now go to sleep. Thank you very much, Your Majesty. Empress Zhongsun smiled as if relieved of a heavy burden. The two of them lay down again. After a while, the sound of steady and regular breathing sounded in the bedchamber. "Your Majesty, the notice of conscription has been urgently sent to all the provinces and counties. The Ministry of War has formulated a conscription plan for all the provinces and counties. All the provinces and counties are actively selecting elite. It is estimated that in a few days, the elites of the provinces and counties will enter the capital one after another. When the time comes, the 150,000 troops will be stationed on a plain south of Chang, a city at the foot of Nyosho Mountain, with Fengshui at the back and building toward the east. Fengshui, one of the 8 rivers of Chang'an, was located in Shi County south of Chang'an City. It was also about 20 miles east of Nyosho Mountain. In the morning court, Li Jing, the minister of the Ministry of War, reported to Li Er the recent progress of the imperial court's preparations for war. Among them, he inevitably mentioned Li Er's request to conscript the soldiers into the capital. Although Chang'an City was the largest city in the world, it had a population of 1 million. Don't underestimate this population. Cities in this era were not like modern times where they were all high-rise buildings. The floor-area ratio of residential houses was very low. Many nobles and officials often had mansions of hundreds of acres. Under such circumstances, it was not easy for Chang'an City to accommodate 1 million people. It was already the limit that they could fit into the 12 garrison camps in the capital. There was really no ready-made place to build another army camp for 150,000 troops. Therefore, the 150,000 elite soldiers recruited from all over the country could only be stationed outside the city. The location of the military camp had to be near a water source. Hearing this, Li Er nodded in satisfaction and said, "The 150,000 troops will be stationed in one camp. The location of the camp is very important. The Bank of Fengshui in the south of Chang'an City is a good place. Li Jing, hear me. The Ministry of War is to immediately set up a camp by the Bank of Fengshui in the south of the city. The Ministry of Works and the Ministry of Revenue will allocate all the resources needed. When the 150,000 elite soldiers arrive, immediately begin training." Li Jing cupped his fists and accepted the order. "This old official receives the order." Li Er nodded and then looked at Xiao Yu among the civil officials. He said in a deep voice, "Xiao Yu, this old official is here." Xiao Yu stepped forward and cupped his fists. Li Er opened his mouth and said, "Today, there will be a sum of military funds added to the Ministry of Revenue. This sum of military funds will be used to supply the 150,000 elite soldiers that are about to enter the capital. Minister Xiao, you must make sure that the soldiers do not lack their armor and food, and even more so, do not affect their training progress." Xiao Yu frowned and cupped his fist. He asked, "This old official is bold to ask. Your Majesty, is this military fund from the fundraising event that will be held in Lantian City this afternoon?" Hearing this, the rest of the officials in the Taiji Palace all perked up and listened attentively. This time, Li Er did not hide anything. Instead, he openly admitted, "That's right. It is the fundraising event that will be reported this afternoon." This was the first time Li Er admitted in front of the civil and military officials that the 150,000 soldiers military fund was mainly from the fundraising event held by the Yan Huang Chamber of Commerce. The officials were only guessing before. Now that they heard Li Er personally confirm it, they could not help but be at a loss. Some of them, such as Zhang Sun Wuji, had a smile on their faces. Xiao Yu said with a serious face, "Your Majesty, do you really think that with just these commoner merchants, you can raise enough military funds to supply the 150,000 soldiers for a few months?" The rest of the officials also started to mutter. Obviously, from their point of view, it was impossible to raise so much money with just the commoner merchant. After all, the concept of merchants prioritizing profit was already deeply ingrained in the hearts of the people. Moreover, it was the hearts of these scholars. Li Er smiled faintly. "Whether it is possible or not, we will know before dusk today. At that time, if the money raised is not enough, I will think of another way. No matter what, before the army departs, we will definitely raise enough money and rations. Minister Xiao, you only need to wait until the fundraising event is over and lead the officials from the Ministry of Revenue to take over the military fund and make the overall arrangements. This old official receives the decree. Since Li Er had said this, Xiao Yu did not have anything else to say. Although it was said that since ancient times, the imperial court did not compete with the people for profit. However, now that the great Tang and the Turks were about to go to war, at this critical juncture, no one cared about this. Li Er nodded his head in satisfaction. The situation in the north is getting more and more tense. The war between the great Tang and the Turks is also getting more and more urgent. I hope that all of you can work together and make preparations before the war to ensure that our great Tang will not lose this war. The officials clasped their hands together and said, "We obey the decree." Seeing that the matters that needed to be discussed were more or less discussed, Li Er opened his mouth and said, "My beloved officials, please report to me. If there is nothing else, the court is dismissed." After waiting for a while, no one stepped forward. The eunuch standing at the side of the hall shouted with a sharp voice, "The court is dismissed. Farewell, Your Majesty." As the officials sent him off, Li Er stood up and left the Taiji Palace, heading toward the Ganlu Palace. "Zhao Song, go and arrange for someone to send a telegram to Qinke from the Imperial Astronomer. Ask him about the situation over there." Returning to the Ganlu Palace, Li Er did not even change into his normal clothes before instructing Zhao Song. In the Imperial Palace, there was a telegram placed in the Imperial Astronomer's platform, temporarily under the care of the Imperial Astronomer. The function of the Imperial Astronomer was to observe the astronomical phenomena, calculate the solar terms, and set the calendar. From the Qin, Han, to the southern dynasties, the Imperial Astronomer was in charge of the astronomical calendar. The Secretary Province of the Sui Dynasty was under the Imperial Astronomer Chao. In the Tang Dynasty, the Imperial Astronomer Bureau was changed to the Imperial Astronomer Bureau. After that, it was renamed to the Secretarial Court, the Celestial Sphere Overwatch Council, the Celestial Sphere Overwatch Council, or the Secretary Province. The Imperial Astronomer of this time was equivalent to the ancient version of the National Observatory. It was responsible for observing the astronomical phenomena and announcing the calendar. The Imperial Astronomer was equivalent to the Director of the National Observatory. Due to the calendar and the fact that the ancients believed that the changes in the astronomical phenomena were directly related to the changes in human affairs, the Imperial Astronomer's position was very important. The reason why the telegram was kept in the Imperial Astronomer's observatory was mainly because the observatory's observatory was located at a higher location. When sending telegrams, it would be easier for electromagnetic signals to travel further. This was what Li Zishuan had told Li Er earlier. Back when Guan City was quelling the rebellion, Li Yu brought the telegram to the pagoda of the Songyue Temple, hundreds of miles away, to send a message to the academy. This was the principle behind it. Before the telegram relay station was built, this was the only way to increase the distance of the telegram. Although the increase was limited, it was still enough to send messages from Chang'an to Taiyuan. Besides the telegram, Li Er had already sent several palace eunuchs to Yanhuang College to learn how to use the telegram. Thus, even if Li Tai was not in the palace, there were still people in the palace who knew how to use the telegram. Understood. Zhao Song bowed and accepted the order, then turned and left. Call Li Junxian over to see us. After Zhao Song left, Li Er ordered one of the eunuchs in the hall. Understood. The eunuchs bowed and left. This general pays respects to Your Majesty. A few moments later, Li Junxian strode into the hall and bowed. Rise. Seeing Li Junxian, Li Er put down the memorial in his hand and walked up to Li Junxian. We called you here today because we have a task for you. Li Junxian cupped his fists and said, Your Majesty, please give your orders. Li Er nodded and said in a deep voice, We order you to select a group of 100 elite cavalry. There is no need for too many people, just a dozen or so. Have them immediately depart for Sorespeak City and investigate if there are any Turk spies in Sorespeak City. After investigating Taiyuan City, investigate Yunzhong County. If there are any abnormalities, immediately work with the local subjugation residents to eliminate them. Li Junxian was rather confused, but he still bowed and said, This general obeys the decree. Go. Li Er waved his hand. Understood. This general will take his leave. Li Junxian cupped his fists and left. Chapter 1811. Although Li Tai's capture by the Turkic spies was only a dream of Empress Zhongsun, the ancients believed in ghosts and gods. In this era, people generally believed that dreams were the revelations of gods or the guidance of ghosts, foretelling something that would happen in the future. For example, King Wu dreamed that the three gods told him, I must send you to suppress Yin Zhou. King Wu believed that this was an order from the three gods. As expected, he sent troops to suppress Yin Zhou. This was a direct explanation and self-possession. Another example was when Yin Gaozong dreamed of Fu Shuo and found Fu Shuo. Although he didn't know Fu Shuo's name in his dream, he saw Fu Shuo's appearance. He believed that if the heavens gave him such a person in his dream, he would definitely find such a person. In ancient times, there were specialized dream diviners, or dream interpreters. From this, it could be seen that the ancients valued dreams far more than modern people. As Li Tai's birth mother, Empress Zhongxuan's heart was connected to her son. Although Li Er didn't seem to care about her sudden dream, he couldn't help but worry. He knew that although there were 1,000 imperial guards following Li Tai north, and Li Tai's destination was in the Tang Empire, so it seemed unlikely that something would happen. However, Li Tai's group was in the open while the local forces were in the dark. As long as the enemy grasped the right opportunity, they might have a chance. Before entering Yanhuang College, Li Tai was one of Li Er's favorite sons. In the year since he entered Yanhuang College, Li Tai's outstanding performance in Yanhuang College had brought a lot of glory to Li Er. Li Er was naturally concerned about his safety. Therefore, it wasn't enough to send someone to ask about Li Tai's current situation. Li Er also directly sent a group of 100 riders to Taiyuan to secretly spy for Li Tai. Qi County, in a guest room of an inn, Li Tai, who had just finished breakfast, was going back to his room to pack up and prepare to follow the main group to the first destination of this trip, Taiyuan City. Suddenly, the telegraph rang. Beep 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 beep. Who is sending me a telegram? When Li Tai heard this, he stopped what he was doing. He quickly placed the telegraph machine on the table, took out a pen and paper, and began to record the code. It's a telegram from the palace. After translating the message, Li Tai couldn't help but mutter in his heart. At first, he thought it was a telegram from Li Zishuan. Although he was slightly surprised, Li Tai's hands did not stop. He immediately replied with a string of codes. On the one hand, it was to confirm his identity. On the other hand, it was to ask the other party what the telegram was about. Beep 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 beep. Imperial City, Imperial Observatory. He's back. His Highness has replied. Zhao Song and another eunuch were eagerly waiting beside a telegraph. After waiting for a while, the telegraph finally rang. The eunuch could not help but exclaim excitedly. Quick, see if it's His Highness who replied. Then, ask His Highness what's going on over there. Did he encounter any danger on the way? Zhao Song could not help but heave a sigh of relief. As long as Li Tai replied, it meant that at least Li Tai was safe. From Li Er's tone earlier, he could roughly tell that Li Er was worried about Li Tai's current situation. While heaving a sigh of relief, Zhao Song could not help but urge the eunuch. Yes, supervisor. The eunuch quickly responded, then began to record and translate the message sent by Li Tai. After a while, the eunuch finished translating the code. As he sent the telegram to Li Tai, he replied to Zhao Song, Supervisor Zhao, it is indeed His Highness Prince Wei on the other end of the telegraph. His Highness asked why we were contacting him. I am replying to him now. Zhao Song nodded and said, good. After sending the message, they waited for about 15 minutes before the telegraph rang again. The eunuch skillfully translated the message, then stood up and replied to Zhao Song, Supervisor, His Highness said that they are currently in Qi County Town. They are expected to reach Taiyuan City this evening. His Highness also said that they did not encounter any danger along the way. He hopes that His Majesty and Her Highness will be at ease. This is the message sent by His Highness. I have translated it. Please take a look, Supervisor. After saying that, the eunuch handed Zhao Song a piece of paper. Zhao Song reached out and received it. Now that he had received a confirmation from Li Tai, he could finally heave a sigh of relief. Zhao Song glanced at the contents of the paper, then said to the eunuch, Tell Prince Wei that His Majesty hopes that he will be careful along the way. If he encounters any danger, he is to reply to the palace immediately. Of course, Li Er did not say this to Zhao Song. However, Zhao Song could guess what Li Er was thinking. Understood. The eunuch responded, then returned to his seat to send the message. Zhao Song kept the letter and instructed the eunuch, We'll return to Taiji Palace to report to His Majesty. We have to keep an eye on this telegraph machine day and night. If there's any news from Wei Wangdan, remember to inform us immediately, understand? As the eunuch sent the message, he quickly nodded and replied, Understood. I understand. Only then did Zhao Song leave, satisfied. Ganlu Palace. Your Majesty, Prince Wei sent news that they are currently in Qi County Town. They are expected to reach Taiyuan City this evening. His Highness also said that they did not encounter any danger along the way. He hopes that His Majesty and Her Highness will be at ease. This is the message sent by His Highness. Please take a look, Your Majesty. Zhao Song, who had just returned to Ganlu Palace from the Imperial Astronomer, immediately handed the translated message from Li Tai to Li Er. When Li Er heard this, he immediately put down the memorial in his hand and waved to Zhao Song, saying, Present it. Yes, Your Majesty. Zhao Song naturally agreed, then walked in front of Li Er and handed him the message. Li Er reached out to take it and immediately opened it to read. The specific content of the message was naturally more than what Zhao Song had said. It included Li Tai's greetings to Li Er and Empress Zhongsun, as well as what he had seen and heard along the way. However, the core meaning was similar to what Zhao Song had said just now. Soon after Li Er finished reading, a smile appeared on his face. He handed the letter back to Zhao Song and instructed, Send this letter to the Empress. She must be worried sick at this moment. Yes, Your Majesty. Zhao Song took it with both hands, then turned around to make the arrangements. Qi County Town. After sending the telegram, Li Tai finally walked out of the room with his luggage. In fact, when he was sending the telegram, Iron Egg came in to rush him. However, seeing that he was sending the telegram, Iron Egg left without saying anything. Everyone from the academy was waiting for him in the carriage outside the inn. I'm sorry to have kept you all waiting. Carrying the luggage, Li Tai jumped onto the carriage of Class 1 and saluted Iron Egg, Qin Huayu, and Meng Wenhao. It's okay. We didn't wait long. Since you're here, Qinke, let's set off. Qin Huayu shook his head, then lifted the curtain and said to the coachman, Let's go. The carriage moved slowly. As usual, Dugu Xian led 2 of his personal guards and rode in front of the carriage to open the way. In the carriage, Iron Egg could not help but ask, Qinke, I saw you sending a telegram just now. Was it from my master? Although Li Zixuan had not personally taught Iron Egg martial arts for a long time, Iron Egg was still very respectful and concerned about this cheap master. Therefore, when he saw Li Tai sending a telegram to someone else, he subconsciously thought that it was from Li Zixuan. Hearing this, Qin Huayu and Meng Wenhao also looked over. This was the advantage of the telegraph in terms of confidentiality. Even if someone saw you sending a telegram, they would not know who you sent it to or what message you sent. If it was a phone call, the result would be different. Li Tai shook his head and said, "It's not from Yamacho. It's a telegram from the palace. Father and mother are worried about my safety and ordered the people from the Imperial Astronomer to send a telegram to ask about our current situation. They also want us to be careful." Hearing this, Iron Egg was slightly disappointed. Qin Huayu frowned and said, "We've only left the academy for a few days. Why would His Majesty send a telegram to ask about us? Could it be that the situation in the north has changed?" Among the four of them, he was the oldest, so when it came to thinking about problems, he would naturally consider more comprehensively. Li Tai was stunned when he heard this, then he shook his head again and said, The telegram didn't mention it just now. The situation in the north shouldn't have changed, right?" However, when he said this, he lacked some confidence. After a moment of silence, Iron Egg said, "No matter what, I feel that after we reach Taiyuan or Yunzhou, no one should act alone to avoid accidents. Although there are so many Imperial Guards protecting us this time, if we are not careful, we will still give the enemy an opportunity to attack." Li Tai nodded and said, "Iron Egg, you're right. Then we'll do as you say. When we reach Taiyuan, I'll inform Mr. Mo Chue and our classmates." The group quickly left Qi County and arrived at the official road outside the city. Here, 1,000 Imperial Guards were already waiting on the official road. The two sides met up and headed toward Taiyuan City. "How is it? Wang Tao, did Feiying send back any news?" Outside the carriage, Dugu Xian called in the Deputy General and asked in a low voice. Yesterday, when they left Shihe County in Fun Province, Dugu Xian decided to send Dugu Feiying to lead a team of elites and sneak into Taiyuan City in plain clothes. They were to secretly investigate whether there were any hidden dangers in the city. It was better to nip them in the bud. The Deputy General cupped his fists and said, "General, no messenger from General Feiying came back last night or this morning." "Okay. I got it." Dugu Xian patted his head. Even if Dugu Xian had sensed something amiss in Sourcepeak City, he wouldn't have been able to send news back so quickly. Based on the travel time, Dugu Feiying and the others should have only arrived at Sourcepeak City yesterday evening. Thinking of this, Dugu Xian ordered his deputy general, "When we're about to reach Taiyuan City, I'll lead 50 elite soldiers into the city with His Highness. You take the rest of the soldiers with this general's order and settle down in the camp of Taiyuan Subjugation House. If there's any situation, I'll send someone to inform you. If there's no time to inform, then use fireworks as a message." Dugu Xian understood that the power hidden in the dark was the most terrifying. He didn't want to expose all of his power in the open. Otherwise, the enemy would target his power in the open and make very specific plans. This would be very disadvantageous for them. In addition, the Curious Pavilion Workshop had invented fireworks last year before the New Year, making Yanwang College the most beautiful boy on New Year's Eve. However, some people saw an additional value in the beautiful fireworks, and that was to send messages. Dugu Xian had brought a few fireworks produced by the Curious Pavilion Workshop this time. This general obeys. The Deputy General cupped his fist. Chapter 1812. How is it, Zhang Dafu? Did you find anything? Taiyuan City, Tongfu Inn, Yellow Room 4. A middle-aged man pushed open the door and walked in, then closed the door behind him. A young man inside immediately came forward and asked anxiously, This young man was Dugu Feiying, and the middle-aged man was a soldier of the imperial army named Zhang Dafu. He was one of the 30 imperial army elites that had followed Dugu Feiying into Taiyuan City. Taiyuan was the place where the dragon rose. Li Yuan raised his army from Taiyuan in the past. Although the size of the city was not as big as Chang'an, it could still be considered the largest city in the north of the Great Tang. Therefore, Taiyuan later became the northern capital of the Great Tang's 3 capitals. The 3 capitals of the Tang dynasty were respectively the western capital Chang'an, the eastern capital Luoyang, and the northern capital Taiyuan. As the largest inn in Taiyuan City, Tongfu Inn could not be said to be small. Just the guest rooms alone numbered 1 to 200. Because of Taiyuan City's special geographical location, merchants traveling from the northern border to the Central Plains would usually pass through this place. As a result, Tongfu Inn's business was very good all year round. Dugu Feiying and the others had arrived at Taiyuan City around 5 in the afternoon yesterday. When they arrived at Tongfu Inn, there just happened to be several empty rooms, so Dugu Feiying arranged for them to stay there first. Taking advantage of the darkness of the night, some Imperial Army experts with better lightness skills conducted a thorough investigation of the several hundred guest rooms in the inn. In the morning, Dugu Feiying had sent Zhang Dafu and several waiters to inquire about some information. At this time, Zhang Dafu had come to report the results to Dugu Feiying. Replying to General, according to this subordinate's investigation, a group of Turks indeed stayed at this inn the day before yesterday. This group's actions are very suspicious because they disguise themselves as Han people during the day. Others might not be able to see it, but I, Zhang Dafu, have fought Turks on the northern border before, so how could I not see it? This group seems to be led by a middle-aged man called Zhu Hongxing, but I reckon that this name is definitely fake. This Zhu Hongxing is currently staying in the Sky Room. According to the waiters of the inn, he usually goes out at 7 in the morning and only comes back in the afternoon. I've already had my brothers keep an eye on him. Zhu Hongxing? A Turk disguised as a Han? This Tongfu Inn is indeed fishy. Dugu Feiying's eyes brightened. Hadn't he infiltrated Taiyuan City in advance to capture the Turkic spy? However, even he didn't expect that things would progress so smoothly. Since the waiter said that this Zhu Hongxing will go out around 7 a.m., then send 2 vigilant brothers who are good at Qinggong to follow him. See what he's going to do and who he's meeting, then report the information to me. After pondering for a while, Dugu Feiying instructed Zhang Dafu. Although Zhu Hongxing was very suspicious, he did not have any direct evidence to prove that Zhu Hongxing was a spy sent by the Turks to Taiyuan City. To catch a thief, he still had to take the stolen goods. Yes. Zhang Dafu cupped his fists and accepted the order. Just as he was about to turn and leave, Dugu Feiying called out, "Wait!" Zhang Dafu turned around and saw Dugu Feiying rubbing his chin and pondering for a moment. Then, he said, "Have 2 brothers keep an eye on Zhu Hongxing, then have the rest of the brothers scatter around the city. See if there are any other unfamiliar faces in Taiyuan City in recent days. Oh, ask the guards or beggars at the city gate. They should know." Tongfu Inn was only one of the main places that Dugu Feiying was investigating. Out of caution, he also wanted to thoroughly investigate other places besides the inn. This was the task that his big brother had given him yesterday. On the other hand, from a personal point of view, he really did not want any accidents to happen to the people from Yanhuang College. This was because he still admired Li Zixuan very much. In terms of martial arts, Li Zixuan had taught him and his brother a lot. However, Taiyuan City was so big that it was impossible to thoroughly investigate the city in a short time. Even if he mobilized the power of the entire Taiyuan City government, it was still impossible. Therefore, Dugu Feiying could only try his luck by asking the guards or beggars at the city gate for now. This general obeys. Zhang Dafu responded, then turned and left. Suddenly, only Dugu Feiying was left in the room. Although everything that Dugu Xian had asked him to do had been arranged, he still did not dare to be careless. This was because he also understood that the task of escorting the people from Yanhuang College was very important. There could not be any mistake. He had to do his best to strangle all possible unknown risks in the cradle. For this reason, he had to be very careful. For every step he took, he had to look 10 steps ahead. If this was in the past, Dugu Feiying would never do such a thing. In the past, under normal circumstances, he was only responsible for fighting. The one who was responsible for thinking was his big brother Dugu Xian. Of course, if he encountered someone he could not defeat, his big brother Dugu Xian would still have to take action. But now, Dugu Xian could not protect him, so he could only rely on himself. After organizing all the clues in his mind, Dugu Feiying frowned slightly. This was because he suddenly felt that the information he had obtained was too simple. Did he and Dugu Xian overestimate the Turks, or was the information he had obtained so far only superficial? For a moment, Dugu Feiying was in a dilemma. Forget it. Let's go out and take a look. Let's see what kind of background Zhu Hongxing has. After hesitating for a long time, Dugu Feiying decided to go out and take a look himself. Although he had already ordered his subordinates to follow Zhu Hongxing, he still felt that it would be safer to go out personally. His intuition told him that the truth of the matter was not as simple as they thought. First elder, second elder invites you to the meeting hall for a chat. Taiyuan, Wang family ancestral residence, North Courtyard. Wang Binggang had just finished his breakfast and was about to go out and have tea with a few old friends. At this time, a servant walked in and bowed to him. He was already over 70 years old and had enjoyed all the riches in the world. Now, he had no desire for the worldly things of the aristocratic families. Nothing could arouse his interest, except for the divine tea that had become popular this year. The unique taste of the divine tea left him with endless aftertaste. Tasting a cup of tea was like tasting a part of his life, and he could not stop. Therefore, every few days, Wang Binggang would invite 2 or 3 old friends to have tea and chat. Putting aside his identity as the former head of the Wang family, Wang Binggang was a very approachable person. Second younger brother? Why is he looking for me? Wang Binggang frowned and could not help but ask. How would the manservant know about this? He hurriedly cupped his hands and said, replying to Grand Elder, this lowly one does not know. However, other than the second elder, the third elder, the fourth elder, and the fifth elder are all present in the assembly hall. Even fifth elder is here? Wang Binggang raised his eyebrows. His fifth younger brother rarely interfered with the affairs of the family. It seemed that Wang Kuei had something important to discuss with him. All right. This old man knows. I will go over now. Wang Binggang waved his hand and said to the servant. Then this little one will go back and report. The servant bowed to Wang Binggang again, then turned and left. Could it be that second younger brother is still harping on the matter of Renbiao marrying a commoner girl? Sigh, second younger brother is too stubborn. Looking at the back of the servant leaving, Wang Binggang stood on the spot and muttered to himself. It was no wonder that he would think so. The only major event that had happened in the Wang family recently was Wang Renbiao's marriage. Moreover, because of this matter, the elders of the Wang family had been arguing nonstop for the past few days, which gave Wang Binggang quite a headache. Now that Wang Kuei had gathered all the elders together, in Wang Binggang's opinion, it was most likely about Wang Renbiao's matter again. Sigh, it seems that I can't relax and drink tea for a day now. Wang Binggang shook his head and sighed helplessly, then walked toward the front yard. Although he did not want to go, he could not hide forever. He had to face what he had to face. As long as the elders did not reach a consensus on Wang Renbiao's matter, he was afraid that he would not be able to rest for a day. Eldest brother is here. In the council chamber, Wang Kuei and the other 3 elders sat on both sides. The 3 elders were asking Wang Kuei why he had gathered them today when they heard footsteps outside the room. Then they saw Wang Bingang coming in with his hands behind his back. Everyone hurriedly stood up and saluted. Eldest brother. Anyway, Wang Bingang was the most prestigious person in the Wang family of Taiyuan. As the prime minister of the previous dynasty, the Wang family had prospered under his leadership in the Sui dynasty. At that time, it was a relatively prosperous period for the Wang family. Now that the family was declining, it showed how important Wang Bingang was to the Wang family in those days. Haha, we are all family. Why are you so polite? Wang Bing waved his hand and then sat down in the center seat. After everyone was seated, he looked at Wang Kuei and said, "Why did you call everyone here today?" That was what he thought. Second brother, why did you call everyone here today? After he finished speaking, everyone in the room turned their eyes to Wang Kuei. However, they all had the same guess in their hearts as Wang Bingang. Wang Kuei paused and stood up. Today, I have troubled you to come here because I want you to help me with something. Unexpectedly, today's Wang Kuei was not as aggressive as before. Instead, he was very humble. Everyone, including Wang Bing, was deeply surprised. Second younger brother, what are you talking about? We are all family. If you have something to say, just say it. We will help you if we can. Wang Bing did not know what Wang Kuei wanted to do, but he still had to be polite. The others echoed, "That's right. Second elder brother, we are all family. If you have something to say, just say it." Seeing this scene, Wang Kuei said slowly, "In fact, this is not a difficult thing for you. You all know that my Honger has been married for many years, and has no children until now. Seeing that my second branch is about to die, I, as his father, am anxious in my heart. This old man wanted to let one of the clan's heirs be adopted by Hong. But whose child isn't a treasure? This old man also understands that my brothers love their grandchildren. So after thinking about it, I feel that only the second son of you Er's family is the most suitable. This child had committed a mistake and was imprisoned in the ancestral home. According to you Er's intention, he was to be imprisoned for his entire life. Instead of that, it was better to let Hong adopt him, change his appearance, and start anew. In any case, as long as we old fellows don't say anything, outsiders won't know. Elder brother, what do you think?" Chapter 1813. Adopted. Wang Kuei wanted Wang Rini to be adopted by the second branch. In the meeting hall of the Wang family's ancestral mansion, everyone was shocked after hearing Wang Kuei's words. At first, they were like Wang Bing, thinking that Wang Kuei had called them here because of Wang Rinbiao. Therefore, after hearing Wang Kuei's intentions, everyone in the hall couldn't help but be stunned. Second brother, I can understand your feelings. The second branch has made a lot of contributions to the Wang family over the years, but I'm afraid that we can't make the decision to pass on benevolence and righteousness to the second branch. Wang Bing was also stunned, but when he recovered, he said, "Second brother, you have to ask your and Reni's opinion on this matter." Haha. Elder brother is right, second brother, you have to ask Reni and Er's opinion on giving Reni to the second branch. That's right. If both of them agree, it will be a good thing for the second branch and the Wang family. The other 3 elders held an indifferent attitude, watching the show from the sidelines. The one being adopted wasn't their grandson, so they weren't in a hurry. Of course, from a logical point of view, they were on Wang Kuei's side. Since the second branch didn't have a son for many years, Wang Kuei's request was reasonable. Hearing that, Wang Kuei smiled slightly and clasped his hands at everyone, saying, Her. Elder brother, third brother, fourth brother, and fifth brother, how could I not know what you said? I sent someone to Grievance Hall yesterday to ask Reni's opinion. This child is filial and can understand my pain of not having a grandson. He said he is willing to be adopted by the second branch. He will write a letter to you today. I'm sure you will understand the second branch's difficulties. But in the end, this matter still needs elder brother's approval. Elder brother won't be reluctant when the time comes, right? Wang Kuei's smile was really a smile with a knife hidden in it. From a personal point of view, no one would want their grandson to be adopted by others. Even if the grandson was disobedient and often made mistakes, he was still their grandson. However, if Wang Bing did not agree, he would definitely be known as a stingy and selfish person in the clan. Moreover, this was equivalent to publicly breaking off relations with the second branch. In the current unstable situation of the aristocratic clans, the Wang clan's elders wouldn't allow this to affect their unity. Adopted. Wang Kuei wanted Wang Ren to be adopted by the second branch. In the meeting hall of the Wang family's ancestral mansion, everyone was shocked after hearing Wang Kuei's words. At first, they were like Wang Bing, thinking that Wang Kuei had called them here because of Wang Renbiao. Therefore, after hearing Wang Kuei's intentions, everyone in the hall couldn't help but be stunned. Second brother, I can understand your feelings. The second branch has also made a lot of contributions to the Wang family over the years, but I'm afraid that we can't make the decision to pass on benevolence and righteousness to the second branch. Wang Bing was also stunned for a moment. When he came to his senses, he said, Second brother, you have to ask for Yuer's opinion and Ren Yi's opinion on this matter. Haha. Elder brother is right. Second brother, you have to ask Rennie and Yuer's opinion on giving Rennie to the second branch. That's right, that's right. If both of them agree, it will be a good thing for the second branch and the Wang family. The other three elders held an indifferent attitude, watching the show from the sidelines. The one being adopted wasn't their grandson, so they weren't in a hurry. Of course, they were on Wang Kuei's side. The fact that the second branch had no children for many years was an indisputable fact. Wang Kuei's request was reasonable. Chapter 1814. Master, when we return to the clan, second elder and the others will definitely use cousin's marriage to make things difficult for you. Has Master thought of a countermeasure? On the official road from Qi County to Taiyuan, a convoy was escorting a carriage northward. Princess Tang looked at Wang Yu and asked. On the way from Qizhou to Taiyuan Prefecture, they had to pass through Qi County as well. However, unlike Li Tai's group from the Yan Wang Academy, Wang Yu's group did not travel too heavily. Instead, they traveled light and traveled much faster. Moreover, Wang Yu was in a hurry. Even if they stayed at an inn in the county at night, they still set off before dawn. If not for this, they might have run into the Yan Wang College group on the road. But even though they had been on the road, Princess Tang did not show much fatigue. This was all thanks to the carriage they were riding in. This carriage was the one that Li Zixuan had sent to Wang Renbiao as a wedding gift on the day of his wedding. Last year, when Li Zixuan had just transmigrated, he had established the Curious Pavilion workshop. At the time, the Curious Pavilion's first luxury product was a new type of carriage. With its extremely small wheel friction, outstanding shock-absorbing performance, and spacious interior, the Curious Pavilion's new carriage became an instant hit, quickly winning the favor of the upper echelons of the Great Tang. After that, with the establishment of Yan Wang College, Li Zixuan's painstaking efforts to create a system of production, learning, and research gradually took shape. The Curious Pavilion Workshop's technology and R&D capabilities gradually increased. Over the past year, the new carriage had not remained unchanged. Rather, it had been gradually improved as the Curious Pavilion Workshop's technology improved. On the day of Wang Renbiao's wedding, the carriage that Li Zixuan had given him was the latest model from the workshop. Its flexibility and comfort were superior to all the current carriages. As a result, even though they had been in a hurry, Wang Yu and Princess Tang did not feel much physical exhaustion. At most, they were mentally exhausted. Counting the days, we've already left Suizhou for more than 10 days. When we return to the ancestral home, we must act decisively. If second elder and the others object, your husband can only use his authority as the patriarch to suppress them. We can't continue to delay in Taiyuan. We have to hurry back to Suizhou. If we delay government affairs and His Majesty blames us, not only will this old man not be able to take the blame, the Wang clan will also not be able to take the blame. Hearing Princess Tang An's words, Wang Yu looked at the trees outside the window and pondered for a moment. Princess Tang An frowned and snorted, "Humph." Second elder, that stubborn old man, if you use the position of patriarch to pressure him, he will definitely say that you are unfilial. Moreover, second elder has quite a bit of prestige in the clan. Apart from father, the other 3 elders will most likely stand on his side. Haha. Madam, don't worry. Although the second elder is stubborn, it's not like there's no way to deal with him. Before leaving Qizhou, I heard a piece of news. Wang Yu chuckled and said mysteriously. News? What news? Princess Tang An could not help but ask. Seeing this, Wang Yu did not keep her in suspense. He said bluntly, although my cousin married a commoner this time, the Lu clan of Fanyang and the Li clan of Zhao County both sent important juniors from their clans to congratulate him. Madam, don't you find it strange? Princess Tang An was stunned when she heard this. After a moment, she nodded and said, This matter is indeed strange. My cousin is getting married now, and the wedding is simple. He did not send invitations to the Lu clan of Fanyang and the Li clan of Zhao County. However, they came uninvited and even brought expensive gifts. It's really hard to understand. Haha. Actually, madam, if you think about it carefully, you will understand. Wang Yu chuckled and said, In the 4th month of this year, during the Battle of Guan City, the Imperial Army directly destroyed the main forces of the Chui clan of Bowling, Chui clan of Qinghe, and Zheng clan of Xingyang. Only 4 of the 7 great clans were left, and that included the imperial family. When this matter was revealed, the world was shocked. The old men of the Lu clan of Fanyang and the Li clan of Zhao County personally went to Chang'an to draw a clear line with the Chui and Zheng clans to express their loyalty to His Majesty. After witnessing the power of the imperial power, how would these 2 clans dare to make any moves? Among the remaining 5 great clans, only our Wang clan of Taiyuan has the closest relationship with His Majesty. Although my cousin is marrying a commoner, the Fan and Lu clans sent their direct descendants to congratulate him personally. This is because my cousin is still the next head of the Wang clan, and they do not want to offend the Wang clan. As for the matter of Jingchu being the sworn sister of the Marquis of Yong'an, they definitely did not know before coming to Qizhou. This is a pleasant surprise for them. This trip to Qizhou did not offend the Wang clan, but also indirectly sold the Marquis of Yong'an's favor. It can be said that they killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Princess Tang An thought for a moment and said with a frown, Master's analysis seems to be reasonable. In the past, the Chui clan of Qinghe was the strongest among the 7 great clans. After the Battle of Guan City, the great clans all bowed their heads and pledged their loyalty to His Majesty. Whether it was true or not, the imperial court's strength is stronger than the great clans. This is an indisputable fact. However, Master said that Li Jingchu being the sworn sister of the Marquis of Yong'an was a pleasant surprise for Lu Qingqing and Li Jingxian. Isn't this a bit too much? What ability does a mere Li Zishuan have to make the Lu and Li clans curry favor with him? As Li Er's aunt, Princess Tang An believed that the great clans were afraid of the imperial power. However, she did not believe that Li Zishuan was a person that the Lu and Li clans would fight to curry favor with. Haha. Madam, you are wrong. Wang Yu chuckled and said, Not long after we left the Qizhou yesterday, I received news that Lu Qingqing and Li Jingxian had also left the Qizhou. Madam, can you guess where they are going? Princess Tang replied without thinking, "Where else could they be going? They are definitely going back to Fanyang and Zhao County." "That is not true." Wang Yu shook his head and said, "At first, I also thought that the two of them were going home. However, I received news last night that they are going to Chang and—" When Wang Yu left Suizhou this time, other than the provincial governor's residence guards, he had also brought a portion of the Wang clan's secret guards. Therefore, it was not difficult for him to find out Lu Qingqing and Li Jingshuan's whereabouts. Chang'an? Even the elders of the Fan and Li clans do not dare to go to Chang'an easily. What are they going to do there? Princess Tang was puzzled when she heard this. Wang Yu leaned against the sofa in the carriage and tapped his finger on the sofa's armrest. He smiled and said, "I am guessing that they are not going to Chang'an City, but to Lantian County outside Chang'an City. Madam, don't forget that there is a donation gathering in Lantian County this afternoon. The person behind the scenes is the Marquis of Yong'an." Princess Tang also knew about the donation gathering. She opened her mouth and said in surprise, "Master, you are saying that the two of them are going to participate in the donation gathering? How is that possible? The money from the donation gathering will be sent to the Imperial Palace in the end." Wang Yu smiled faintly and said, "Why is that not possible? If Madame does not believe me, then just wait and see. By tomorrow morning at the latest, the news of the eldest sons of the Lu and Li clans participating in the donation gathering will reach Taiyuan." Princess Tang was silent. Although Wang Yu's analysis was reasonable, she still found it hard to believe. Seeing this, Wang Yu continued, "Lu Qingqing and Li Jingxian participating in the donation gathering is not only giving face to the Marquis of Yong'an, but also showing their loyalty to His Majesty and the imperial court. This is killing two birds with one stone. Moreover, madam, don't underestimate the Marquis of Yong'an. He is the wealthiest businessman in the world. His products are sold well in every province and county in the world. Even the carriage we are riding now comes from the workshop of Strange Taste Pavilion. Yuan compiles dictionaries and lowers the price of books. All the scholars in the world are grateful to him. In addition, he founded Yanhuang College and recruited talents from all over the world. Although the college was founded less than a year ago, it is already showing signs of greatness. Even the Turkic Khagan covets the knowledge of Yanhuang College and sent the imperial advisor to steal the books of the college. In time, the students of Yanhuang College will become the pillars of the country. Li Zishuan will have students all over the world. With such a deep foundation, who in the great Tang would dare to touch him? Even the Son of Heaven would have to be wary of him. Yu Wu is a disciple of spiritual master, and backed by the celestial master path of Mount Longhu. According to Ling Yuyao, he is a grandmaster realm martial artist. There are few martial artists of the same age who can match him. Now that he is in the Black Armored Army, if he gains military merits in the war with the Turkic Khaganate, he might even be promoted to a duke. In addition, half of the generals in the imperial court are on good terms with him. With Li Jing, Cheng Yaojin, Qin Xiong, Yuqi Jingda, and the other old generals looking after him, who would dare to touch him? Furthermore, he was a marquis at the tender age of 20 and was even conferred the title of provincial governor of a province. Among the civil and military officials of the imperial court, apart from Zhangsun Wuji and Fang Xianling, who else was more favored by the emperor than the Marquis of Yong'an? As long as he doesn't do anything foolish, he will definitely reach the top of the court and have a limitless future. Many people have underestimated his value. Those two brats from the Lu clan and Li clan have good eyes. Wang Yu could tell that Princess Tang didn't place much importance on Li Zishuan, so he had patiently analyzed the situation to her. Seeing Wang Yu so serious, Princess Tang couldn't help but turn grave. Before this, she had never imagined that Li Zishuan would be so outstanding, but after hearing Wang Yu's analysis, She had to admit that Li Zixuan was truly the most outstanding youth of the great Tang Empire's younger generation. Wang Yu's second point in particular made her tremble in fear. Once Yanwang College matured, Li Zixuan's strength would rapidly increase. At that time, the Li clan behind Li Zixuan would become an existence on par with the 5 clans and 7 nobles. Who was more awesome, born into a great clan or creating one? Surely everyone knew the answer? Now I seem to understand why Master valued Li Zixuan so much. It seems like it's not a bad thing for cousin to make such a friend. After a long silence, Princess Tang sighed. Haha, that's naturally not a bad thing. On the contrary, it's a blessing for the Wang clan. Wang Yu couldn't help but chuckle. His eyes flashed with determination as he said, "When we return to the ancestral home this time, your husband must protect cousin's status as the eldest son of the first wife. Even the brats from the Lu and Li clans can see the potential in the Marquis of Yong'an. This old man doesn't believe that the elders in the clan can't see it either. If second elder and the others remain stubborn, then your husband can only ask grandfather to step in." Chapter 1815. The Tang Dynasty's Taiyuan city was built on the foundation of Jinyang City. Although it was not as large as Chang'an City, the structure of the city was much more complicated. There were 27 city gates alone. According to legend, the ancient city of Jinyang was built by Dong Anyu during the spring and autumn period. In the records of the grand historian, it was said, Ji Bo attacked Zhao Xiangzi in Jinyang, and drew the water of Fun to flood the city. Northern Qi's Emperor Wen Xian built the Daming Palace on the ruins of Jinyang City and expanded it into a city, calling it Daming City. The city was 40 feet tall and had a circumference of 4 li. There was another city north of Daming City. Eastern Wei's Emperor Shaojing built the Jinyang Palace there. During Emperor Wen's time, it was renamed New City. During Emperor Yang's time, he expanded the Jinyang Palace of Eastern Wei's Emperor Shaojing, and the city was also enlarged. The enlarged new city was 40 feet tall and had a circumference of 7 li. During the 16th year of Emperor Wen's reign, Emperor Wen built a Tsang city that was connected to the new city on the east side. This city was 40 feet tall and had a circumference of 8 li, forming 3 connected cities. This was the initial appearance of Taiyuan City during the Tang Dynasty. However, during the Tang Dynasty, Taiyuan City underwent 2 major expansions. The first was during the Zhenguan period, when Emperor Taizong appointed the famous General Li Xingli to guard Tai. During this period, Li Zhili built an east city on the east bank of Fen River in the 11th year of Zhenguan's reign. The second was during Wu Zetian's reign, when Cui Shinqing built a central city on Fen River, connecting the east and west cities. Every year, there would be thousands of soldiers defending the border. At this point, Taiyuan's west city, east city, and central city were combined into one, becoming the Great Tang's most important military barrier in the north. However, at this time, Taiyuan City did not have a west city, east city, or central city. The main body of Taiyuan City was the west city of Taiyuan City, and the city was split into Taiyuan Prefecture City and Jinyang County. Taiyuan Prefecture City was also known as the Provincial City, and it was the core region of Taiyuan City. The provincial city contained 3 other cities: Daming City, New City, and Tsang City. Jinyang County was the administrative center of Jinyang County, and it was located 2 li south of the prefecture city. Are you Boss Zhuya? Taiyuan Prefectural City, Great Brightness City, Market Square, Chu Family Ironware Shop. A slightly plump, middle-aged man dressed in luxurious clothes walked in. The shop's attendant went up to greet him. At first glance, the middle-aged man looked familiar. After carefully sizing him up for a while, he finally recognized the middle-aged man and couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Yes. Is your shopkeeper here today? I'm here for him. The middle-aged man nodded and asked the servant. He was speaking in Chinese. Although he was fluent, it sounded a little stiff. The manservant hurriedly nodded and said, "Yes, yes. The shopkeeper is in the back hall. Boss Zhu Xie, please take a seat. This little one will go and report to him." "Yes." The middle-aged man nodded, and the servant turned and left. After waiting for about half a cup of tea's time, the servant walked out from the back hall and warmly said to the middle-aged man, "Boss Zhu Xie, my shopkeeper invites you to the back hall for tea. This way, please." After saying that, the servant made an inviting gesture. The middle-aged man nodded and stood up. "That's good. Lead the way." "Boss Zhu Xie, please wait a moment," the servant suddenly said. Then, he quickly walked to the front of the shop. First, he looked around. Then, he actually hung a closed sign on the door and closed the shop. One must know that it was broad daylight now. It was not even noon yet. Most of the shops in the city had just opened for business. "Boss Zhu Xie, please." After doing all that, the servant came in front of the middle-aged man and said. The middle-aged man looked at the servant approvingly and said, "Good." The two of them, one in front and one behind, walked towards the back hall. Outside the ironware shop. "General, not long after Zhu Hongxing went in, the ironware shop closed. It's only 7:30 in the morning. Most of the shops in the city have just opened. There must be something fishy going on." A man in martial arts clothes cupped his fist and said to Dugu Feiying. It turned out that the middle-aged man who entered the ironware shop was the merchant Zhu Hongxing that Dugu Feiying and the rest were chasing. Since the moment Zhu Hongxing stepped into the ironware shop, he had entered Dugu Feiying and the rest's surveillance. "Yes. Did you hear what they said in the shop?" Dugu Feiying's heart skipped a beat as he asked. The soldier cupped his fist and replied, "General, when we were outside the shop, we vaguely heard the servant call Zhu Hongxing Boss Zhu. Not long after, the servant came in and closed the door. He must have entered the back hall. Furthermore, this Zhu Hongxing's real name should be Zhu Xie." Hearing this, Dugu Feiying looked around and could not help but frown. He originally wanted to use his qinggong to fly to the roof and eavesdrop on the conversation between Zhu Hongxing and the person inside. However, it was broad daylight and the city had just opened. There were many people and merchants coming and going. In broad daylight, with so many people watching, how could he fly to someone else's roof to eavesdrop? No. His name is not Zhu Xie. His surname is Zhu Xie. Dugu Feiying sighed helplessly and said, "The Western Turkic Khaganate has a separate tribe called the Shadua tribe. The Shadua tribe is divided into the Zhu Xie tribe and the Qi branch. The leader of the Zhu Xie tribe is called Zhu Xie Ke Qilin. Everyone in the tribe has the surname Zhu Xie. It seems like this Zhu Hongxing is from the Shadua tribe of the Western Turkic Khaganate. However, why would someone from the Shadua tribe suddenly appear in Taiyuan? And why would he disguise himself and act so sneakily?" At this time, the Shadua tribe was not very famous. Many people in the Central Plains had not heard of them. Only Dugu Feiying, who came from a family of generals, knew about them. The Shadua tribe was a mixture of many ethnic groups. Its ethnic origins included the Turkic, Hueha, and Sut, the 9 families of Zhaowu ethnic group. Within each ethnic group, there were also several tribes. It could be considered a minority tribe with a complicated mix of members. In the early Tang Dynasty, the Shadua tribe was an unremarkable tribe. There were very few records of them in the literature of the Tang Dynasty. The Shadua tribe only rose to prominence at the end of the Tang Dynasty. After the Daibei Dynasty, the Shadua tribe became an all-powerful tribe in China's history. They suppressed the Huangqiao uprising, fought for hegemony in the Central Plains, controlled the House of Tang, and eventually established the later Tang, later Jin, and later Han dynasties in the Central Plains. In that case, this Zhu Hongxing must be from the Turkic Khaganate. "General, do you want me to arrest him?" The soldier cupped his fist and suggested to Dugu Feiying. If we arrest him based on this, I'm afraid it will bring us trouble. Before we arrest him, we must investigate his background and his purpose in coming to Taiyuan City. Dugu Feiying shook his head and said in a deep voice, "Go and investigate this ironware shop. Find out what this shop mainly sells. Who is the shopkeeper? Once you find out, report to me immediately. Also, keep a close eye on this Zhu Hongxing. I want to know where he goes and who he meets." "Yes, General." The soldier cupped his fist and accepted the order. Dugu Feiying saw that there was nothing to be gained here, so he turned around and returned to the inn. After returning to the inn, Zhang Dafu walked in and cupped his fist to Dugu Feiying. "General, this subordinate had the inn's waiter lure Zhu Hongxing's accomplice out of the room. Then, I took the opportunity to sneak into the heavenly room and rummage through Zhu Hongxing's luggage. Other than some clothes and money, I did not find anything unusual." Dugu Feiying was dumbfounded. He asked in disbelief, "You didn't see any account books?" Zhang Dafu scratched his head and mumbled, Well, we did see a few booklets, but this subordinate and the others aren't literate and couldn't understand what was written in them. This subordinate wanted to bring a booklet out, but I was worried that Zhu Hongxing would find something strange when he returned, so I didn't." "You." Dugu Feiying put his hand to his forehead and almost cursed it out loud. This was truly a case of not being afraid of a godlike opponent, but being afraid of a pig-like teammate. Zhang Dafu couldn't help but shrink his neck. He probed, "Should this subordinate make another trip?" "What for?" "Zhu Hongxing will be back soon. If you steal the account books now, you'll definitely be caught." Dugu Feiying waved his hand in annoyance. Dugu Xian had given him the task of eliminating the hidden dangers in Sourcepeak City, and he had achieved nothing until now. It was inevitable that he would feel irritated. Zhang Dafu thought for a moment, then cupped his fists and suggested, "General, why don't I capture Zhu Hongxing and interrogate him? Compared to the safety of Prince Wei and the others, even if we capture the wrong person, it won't matter, right?" "No." Dugu Feiying frowned and thought for a moment before shaking his head. Compared to the safety of King Wei and the others, a mere Zhu Hongxing is naturally insignificant. However, if he really is an ordinary merchant, then our actions might alert the enemy and alert the Turkic spies with ill intentions. When that happens, it will be even harder to capture them. Zhang Dafu clasped his fist and said, "General, you're right. What should we do now?" "His Highness and the others should be in the city by dusk today." Dugu Feiying stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He paced around the room, thinking of a countermeasure. Using his brain was not his forte. He was only good at fighting and doing funny things. The current situation was so complicated. Trying to find a way to break out of this situation was simply too much of a brain burner for him. "We can't relax our surveillance on Zhu Hongxing. Today, he went to the Chu ironware shop in Great Ming City. You have to find out why he went there as soon as possible. In addition, I had you send people to investigate which new faces have arrived in Sourcepeak City in recent days. Have you made any progress?" After some thought, Dugu Feiying turned to Zhang Dafu and asked. Zhang Dafu shook his head and said, "My brothers have already been sent out. I'm afraid we won't have any news until noon." Dugu Feiying said, "Then wait." According to these two directions, if they couldn't find any useful clues before 4:45 in the afternoon, then they would find an opportunity to secretly capture Zhu Hongxing and his group. At present, this Zhu Hongxing's behavior is indeed suspicious. This was a helpless move. According to Dugu Feiying's original plan, he would capture Zhu Hongxing after gathering enough evidence. However, time waits for no one. Li Tai and the others would arrive in Sourcepeak City before dark and stay at Tongfu Inn. Dugu Feiying couldn't let Zhu Hongxing, this uncertain factor, stay by Li Tai's side. In any case, from the clues they had so far, Zhu Hongxing was indeed very suspicious. "This general obeys." Zhang Dafu's expression shook. He quickly cupped his hands and accepted the order. Seeing that Dugu Feiying had no other orders, Zhang Dafu cupped his hands and turned to leave. In the room, Dugu Feiying rubbed his eyebrows and muttered to himself, "I hope this decision is right. Otherwise, it will be troublesome." Chapter 1816. 7 in the morning, in the Wang family's ancestral home. Wang Kuei once again came to the grievance hall. Hearing the commotion, Wang Reni hurriedly came out and asked impatiently, "Second elder, how did it go? Did my grandfather agree?" Of course he agreed. Wang Kuei glanced at Wang Reni and said lightly, "What? Grandfather really agreed? That's great." Hearing this, Wang Reni was pleasantly surprised. When he thought about how he had been imprisoned for more than a year and finally had the chance to regain his freedom, he could not help but tremble with excitement. Those who had never been imprisoned would never be able to understand the pain of being surrounded by walls all day long. For Wang Reni, this 1 year had been a complete and utter torture. "Don't be happy so early. Your father is back and will be here soon. You'd better think about how to get through your father first." Seeing Wang Reni's excited face, Wang Kuei put his hands behind his back and said casually, "What? My father is back? Isn't he in Qizhou? Even if he left Qizhou, he should have returned to Suizhou. Why did he return to the ancestral home?" Hearing this, Wang Reni was obviously stunned. Obviously, this news caught him off guard. "Why are you panicking? Even if your father didn't come back, according to the original plan, shouldn't you send him a letter next? Now that he's back, it saves us the time of sending letters back and forth. Make some preparations. I reckon that the clan will have another meeting about this in the afternoon. Your father will definitely be present. I've already helped you pass the Great Elder's test. The rest is up to you. You have to convince your father back then." Seeing Wang Reni's panicked face, Wang Kuei frowned and reprimanded in a deep voice. Wang Reni was shocked when he heard this and quickly covered the panic on his face. He cupped his hands and said, "Second elder, please forgive me. I lost my composure. You're right. No matter what, this confrontation between me and him is inevitable. Don't worry, if grandfather and father summon me in the afternoon, I'm confident that I can convince them to not stop me from being adopted by the second branch. But when the time comes, I'm afraid we'll need second elder to cooperate with us." Wang Reni knew that whether he could regain his freedom this time depended on the attitude of the old man in front of him. He could not show any cowardice in front of Wang Kuei. Otherwise, his value in Wang Kuei's heart would plummet. When he needed Wang Kuei's help, Wang Kuei might not be willing to help. Therefore, even though Wang Reni was not mentally prepared for Wang Yu's sudden return, his face was filled with confidence and calmness. As expected, after listening to Wang Reni's explanation, Wang Kuei nodded in satisfaction and said, Since you are so confident, then this old man can rest assured. At the crucial moment, this old man will also lend you a helping hand. If everything goes well, you should be able to be adopted into the second branch in 2 days. After that, you can start implementing your plan." When speaking of plan, Wang Kuei's face flushed with excitement. His eyes narrowed and flashed with a fanatical light. His whole aura suddenly changed a little. It became crazy and blazing. Wang Reni smiled and cupped his hands. Grandson congratulates grandfather in advance for taking the power of the clan and bringing the Wang family one step closer. Before being adopted, he directly called Wang Kuei grandfather. This guy really had no bottom line. He was a typical example of forgetting his ancestors. Chapter 1817. Ahem. Big brother, you are now in a high position and have many children. Why don't you take care of your little brother and let Wang Reni be adopted by the second branch? Don't worry, as long as you are willing to adopt Reni, Madam and I will treat him well and treat him as our own son. In the future, He will inherit the second branch's family business. In the main hall of the Wang family, at the banquet, Wang Hong, who was sitting below Wang Yu, saluted Wang Yu with an embarrassed expression. After all, for a middle-aged man to be childless was definitely a shameful thing for a man. If it weren't for Wang Kuei's repeated warnings, he definitely wouldn't have mentioned this matter in front of everyone. The pressure instantly shifted to Wang Yu's side. Wang Hong had already lowered himself to such a level, and had even put it this way. If Wang Yu still didn't agree, it would be too unreasonable. Thus, everyone at the table turned their gazes to Wang Yu at this moment. Brother Hong, it's not that I don't want to. I know the second branch's difficulties, but Rennie is a ruthless child. If I let you adopt him, I'm afraid it will cause trouble for the second branch in the future. After a long silence, Wang Yu finally found a reason to reject Wang Hong. As a father, Wang Yu understood Wang Rennie's nature very well. When Wang Rennie and Wang Renbiao went to Chang'an for a family competition, the devious Wang Rennie tried to beat Wang Renbiao through unorthodox means. He got involved with the bandits and kidnapped Li Zixuan's fiancée, almost pushing Li Zixuan and the other generals to the opposite side of the Wang family. If not for Wang Yu's timely intervention, the Wang family would be in an even worse situation now. If Wang Rennie was adopted by the second branch, it would be giving Wang Rennie a chance to regain his freedom. Without Wang Yu's strict control, Wang Rennie would cause even more trouble for the Wang family. But Wang Hong did not think so. He had already lowered his face and begged Wang Yu humbly, but Wang Yu still refused. This was obviously a slap to his face in front of everyone. Big brother, we all watched Rennie grow up. Although his personality is a little unpredictable, he is not as bad as you say. Besides, even if he had caused trouble, the second branch should be responsible for it. For the second branch, it's better to have more trouble than to have no descendant. If you really can't bear to part with it, then just take it that I've mentioned it to you before. Wang Hong frowned and mocked with an ugly expression. Ahem. Big brother, you are now in a high position, and you have many children. Why don't you take care of little brother and let Wang Rennie be adopted by the second branch? Don't worry, as long as you are willing to adopt benevolence, Madam and I will definitely treat him well and treat him as our own son. In the future, the second branch's family business will also be inherited by him. In the main hall of the Wang family, at the banquet, Wang Hong, who was sitting below Wang Yu, cupped his hands and said to Wang Yu with an embarrassed expression. After all, for a middle-aged man to be childless was definitely a shameful thing for a man. If not for Wang Kuei's repeated exhortations, he would never have mentioned this in front of everyone at this moment. The pressure instantly shifted to Wang Yu's side. Wang Hong had already lowered himself to such a level, and had even put it this way. If Wang Yu still didn't agree, it would be too unreasonable. Thus, everyone at the table turned their gazes to Wang Yu. Chapter 1818. What conditions? In the Wang family's meeting hall, Wang Kuei heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that Wang Yu had finally agreed to let Wang Rennie be adopted by the second branch. However, when he heard the second half of Wang Yu's sentence, he could not help but ask. Wang Yu said solemnly, Wang Rennie violated the family rules last year and was imprisoned by this old man in the grievance hall. He will never be able to take a step out of the hall. Although he has been adopted by the second branch this time, his previous mistakes are still there, so his punishment is still there. After the adoption ceremony, he must return to the grievance hall and continue to stay there. As soon as these words were spoken, a trace of panic flashed through the eyes of Wang Rennie, who had just stood up from the ground. After that, he turned to look at Wang Kuei because helping him leave the grievance hall was the condition that Wang Kuei had agreed to back then. Without waiting for Wang Rennie to speak, Wang Kuei retorted, Master, you are mistaken. Since Rennie has been adopted by the second branch, His life is equivalent to starting over. He has a new name, and he will be Wang Xinyuan of the second branch from now on. The one who made the mistake last year was Wang Ren, so what does it have to do with Wang Xinyuan? Therefore, there is no need to talk about imprisonment. That's right. Since Ren Yi has been adopted by me, then he will be my son from now on. All the mistakes he made in the past should be written off. Wang Hong chimed in at this time. Wang Yu and Princess Tang and both frowned. They hadn't expected Wang Kuei and Wang Hong to be so shameless. Of course, they now understood why Wang Renyi was so eager to be adopted by the second branch. Obviously, he wanted to use this matter to clear his name, escape the punishment of imprisonment, and regain his freedom. This was a good plan. However, they did not understand why Wang Kuei would spare no effort to help Wang Renyi. Was it simply because the second branch had no children? Princess Tang felt that things were not so simple. Haha. Second elder is really good at planning. He even thought of a new name for Renyi in advance. Wang Xinyuan, are you hoping that he can live a new life and have a good start? Wang Yu did not speak, but Princess Tang could not help but speak first. She first looked at Wang Renyi, then at Wang Kuei, her face full of sarcasm. What conditions? In the Wang clan's conference hall, Wang Kuei breathed a sigh of relief when he heard that Wang Yu had finally agreed to let Wang Renyi be adopted by the second branch. But when he heard the second half of Wang Yu's sentence, Wang Kuei's heart was in his throat again. Wang Yu said with a serious face, Wang Renyi violated the clan's rules last year and was imprisoned by this old man in the grievance hall. He can't take a step out of the hall for the rest of his life. Although he had been adopted by the second branch this time, the mistakes he had made before were still there, and the punishment was still there. After the ceremony is over, he must return to the grievance hall and continue to stay there. As soon as these words were spoken, a trace of panic flashed through the eyes of Wang Renyi, who had just stood up from the ground. After that, he turned to look at Wang Kuei because helping him leave the grievance hall was the condition that Wang Kuei had agreed to back then. Without waiting for Wang Renyi to say anything, Wang Kuei retorted, Master, you are wrong. Since Renyi has been adopted by the second branch, his life is equivalent to starting anew. He has a new name. He will be Wang Xinyuan of the second branch in the future. The one who made the mistake last year was Wang Renyi. What did it have to do with Wang Xinyuan? Therefore, there's no need to talk about imprisonment. Chapter 1819. Wang Kuei's move of retreating to advance was very effective, directly turning the situation around. Everyone in the meeting hall couldn't help but nod inwardly. First, everyone felt that Wang Kuei's request wasn't excessive. In the end, he just wanted the second branch to continue to have descendants. Second, Wang Kuei had already taken a step back and guaranteed that Wang Renyi would never leave Sorespeak City. This was already cutting off Wang Renyi's future career. Third, Sorespeak City was the origin of the Wang family. The Wang family had operated in Sorespeak City for many years, and its power could be said to be deeply rooted. Wang Renyi could change his appearance and name, and then he would only move within the boundaries of this territory. The imperial court wouldn't know. Thus, the Wang family's third elder looked at Wang Bing and said, Big brother, second brother just wants to leave an heir for the second branch, and this request isn't excessive. You and the family head should agree, right? The fourth elder chimed in, That's right. Big brother. The 5 branches of the Wang family have always been of the same breath and branch. Don't hurt the harmony because of this. And Big brother's request isn't excessive. His Majesty is busy every day. As long as Renyi doesn't leave Sorespeak City, His Majesty won't know about this. The 5th elder said, Big brother, please leave an heir for the second branch. The 3 of them had begged Wang Bing, and not Wang Yu mainly because they thought that Wang Bing would give them a way out on account of their brotherhood. Reality proved that their actions were effective. A trace of hesitation flashed across Wang Bing's face. He looked at Wang Yu and said after a moment, the family rules can't be abolished, but we can't hurt the harmony of the family." Wang Bing was reminding Wang Yu to stop before going too far. Wang Yu thought for a moment and said, "Since that's the case, Wang Rennie will be adopted by the second branch from now on, and his imprisonment will be lifted. However, he can't take a step out of Sorespeak City for the rest of his life. If he violates this, he will be expelled from the Wang family. I hope that second elder will take good care of him in the future. Don't make any mistakes and put the family at a disadvantage." The aristocratic families were a huge group, and they were also a huge body of interest. Even though Wang Yu was the head of the family, there were some things that he couldn't arbitrarily decide. Many times, he had to give in and compromise. As a leader, the most important thing was the way to balance things. "Thank you, family head. Rest assured, patriarch, this old man will definitely take good care of Xian Yuan in the future. I will definitely not let him violate the clan rules again." A smile appeared on Wang Kuei's face. He got up and cupped his hands at Wang Yu. "All right, since the matter has been decided, everyone can leave now." Wang Bing rubbed his forehead and said tiredly. Wang Kuei's move of retreating in order to advance was very effective. He directly turned the situation around. Everyone in the meeting hall couldn't help but secretly nod after hearing this. First of all, everyone felt that Wang Kuei's request was not excessive. In the end, he just wanted the second branch to continue the family line. Secondly, Wang Kuei had already taken a step back and guaranteed that Wang Rennie would not leave Taiyuan City for the rest of his life. This was already a disguised form of cutting off Wang Rennie's future career. Thirdly, Taiyuan City was the birthplace of the Wang family. The Wang family had operated in Taiyuan City for many years, and its power could be said to be deeply rooted. If Wang Rennie changed his appearance and name, and then moved only within the boundaries of this territory, the imperial court would not know. Therefore, the Wang family's third elder looked at Wang Bing and said, "Big brother, second brother just wants to leave an heir for the second branch, and this request is not excessive. You and family head should agree, right?" Chapter 1820. During the spring and autumn period, Guanzhong, a great politician and reformer, helped Duke Huan of Qi to rule the world. He reformed the way taxes were collected in the past and implemented the Guan Shanhai. Guan means Guan, Shanhai means mining, casting iron, and boiling salt. This policy created the earliest salt and iron monopoly in China's history. According to Guanzhong's rough calculation, Qi could earn 60 million yuan a year. Emperor Wu of Han, under the advice of wealth manager Sang Hongyang, in order to strengthen the centralization of power and take back salt and iron and other important economic enterprises from the hands of the rich and powerful, reversing the country's financial situation, he also implemented the salt and iron monopoly and alcohol monopoly. Since then, the salt and iron monopoly system ran through the entire feudal dynasty of China. During the Tang Dynasty, more than 90% of the country's mineral veins were in the hands of the imperial court. The remaining less than 10% were in the hands of the important officials and aristocratic families, such as Zhang Sun Wuji. As a 1,000-year-old clan, the Wang family also controlled 2 mineral veins. There were only 3 sources of iron and iron for the blacksmith. The first was to buy it from the local government. The second was to recycle some of the iron that the commoners did not use and reforge it. The third was to buy it from the aristocratic families who owned iron. In Tongfuin, Dugu Feiying pondered for a moment and ordered, "Go and contact the people of the Wang family. Tell them your identity and ask them to cooperate. Find out the identity of this Kong Chang'an as soon as possible." "Yes, General." Zhang Dafu bowed. After a moment of hesitation, he clasped his fist and said, "General, the head of the Wang family, Wang Yu, has returned to Taiyuan. He came back around noon. Wang Yu? Dugu Feiying's eyes lit up. He pondered for a moment and suddenly a thought flashed through his mind. He smiled and said, "The Wang family has been in Taiyuan for many years. They are the local bullies. As for Wang Yu, if I remember correctly, Wang Yu's son, Wang Renbiao, is a good friend of the Duke of Yong'an. Our main purpose of this trip is to protect the safety of the people from Yanhuang College. So, to a certain extent, we should be on the same side as Wang Yu. Get ready and follow me to the Wang family. If we can get their help, it will be very convenient for us to do things in Taiyuan City." As a 1,000-year-old clan, the Wang clan also controlled 2 ore veins. There were only 3 sources for the iron and iron ores required by the common blacksmith. First, they could buy them from the local government. Second, they could recycle some of the ironware that the common folk didn't use and reforge. Third, they could buy them from the aristocratic families that owned iron ores. Within Tongfu Inn, Dugu Feiying pondered for a moment before instructing, "Go get in touch with the Wang clan's people and reveal your identity. Ask them to cooperate and investigate this Kong Chanan's identity as soon as possible." "Yes, General." Zhang Dafu bowed and accepted the order. After a moment of hesitation, he cupped his fists and said, "General, the head of the Wang family, Wang Yu, has returned to Taiyuan. He came back around noon." Wang Yu? Dugu Feiying's eyes lit up. After pondering for a moment, an idea suddenly flashed through his mind. The Wang family has been operating in Taiyuan for many years and is the local tyrant. As for Wang Yu, if I remember correctly, Wang Yu's son, Wang Renbiao, has a good relationship with the Marquis of Yong'an. Our main purpose of this trip is to protect the safety of the people from Yanhuang College. So, to a certain extent, we should be on the same side as Wang Yu. Get ready and follow me to the Wang family. If we can get their help, it will be very convenient for us to do things in Taiyuan City. Chapter 1821. Constable's son, you are? The arrival of nearly 100 Yamen runners naturally attracted the attention of the host of the fundraising event, Lin Wenyuan. He hurried forward and asked Constable Sunday Lantian County was Li Zishuan's fief, and the host of today's fundraising event was the Yanhuang Chamber of Commerce. The mastermind behind the scenes was Li Zishuan, so Lin Wenyuan naturally did not misunderstand that Constable's son had brought so many people here to cause trouble. However, he did not expect that the Lantian County Yamen, as the government, would actually send people here today. After all, the fundraising event mainly invited businessmen. "Old Master Lin, I am under the orders of County Magistrate He to bring people here to maintain order and ensure that the fundraising event will proceed smoothly. Cough, I hope that Old Master Lin will not be offended by the number of people who came." Constable's son very politely cupped his fists towards Lin Wenyuan and said. Hearing this, Lin Wenyuan hurriedly said, "What are you saying, Constable's son? This fundraising event involves a huge sum of money. For the county yamen to send people here, I am naturally more than happy to oblige. Why would I be offended? In a while, I will invite Constable's son in for tea." Lin Wenyuan was a businessman. If it was in the past, when would he not bow and scrape in front of officials? Now that he was an important member of the Yanhuang Chamber of Commerce and had Li Zishuan's protection, he could not help but straighten his back. But even so, he didn't dare to be complacent, arrogant, and despotic, because he knew who gave him everything he had now. He was now dealing with people in the officialdom, adhering to the principle of being neither servile nor overbearing. If people respect him, he will respect them tenfold. He would not embarrass the Yanhuang Chamber of Commerce, nor would he cause unnecessary trouble for the Yanhuang Chamber of Commerce. Old Master Lin, you don't have to be so courteous. I am just a boor. Today, protecting this Longmen Inn is my duty. You don't have to care about me. In a while, the county magistrate will come personally. Constable Sun smiled and cupped his fists towards Lin Wenyuan. Hearing this, Lin Wenyuan was slightly taken aback. He did not expect that not only would the county yamen send a constable to maintain order, even county magistrate he would be coming personally. This was a donation gathering organized by the Yan Huang Chamber of Commerce. Wasn't county magistrate he afraid that his identity would be exposed to gossip? Although that was what he was thinking, Lin Wenyuan remained calm and collected. He cupped his hands respectfully and said, "Constable Sun is really diligent and responsible. Then I will go and entertain the guests. When county magistrate he arrives, I will definitely welcome him personally." At this moment, cries of surprise rang out from the crowd. Then, the crowd took the initiative to open up a path. An official in a purple official robe with a golden jade belt at his waist walked toward the Dragon Gate in with 7 or 8 low-ranking officials. Looking at the color of the leader's official uniform, he was actually a third-grade official. Whoa! Where did this high-ranking official come from? Looks like he's from Chang'an. Isn't this Minister Xiao from the Ministry of Revenue? What is Minister Xiao doing here? The onlookers were whispering to each other in low voices. It was not that they had not seen high-ranking officials before. Even the Emperor had come to Lantian County before. It was just that all third-grade officials and above were important officials of the imperial court. Now that the donation gathering was about to start, a third-grade official suddenly came here. It was inevitable that the crowd could not help but discuss in low voices. Lin Wenyuan's heart skipped a beat. He hurriedly went up with the other members of the Yan Huang Chamber of Commerce and bowed respectfully. Lin Wenyuan of the Yan Huang Chamber of Commerce greets Minister Xiao. Chao Wendong from the Yan Huang Chamber of Commerce, Feng Zhihua Jing Qianjun Liao Shifan, greets Minister Xiao. Everyone, there's no need to be so polite. Xiao Yu stopped in his tracks and waved at the crowd. Then he looked at Lin Wenyuan and said, "I'm here on orders to take over the money from the donation gathering. Once the gathering is over, the Ministry of Revenue will register all the money and send it back to Chang'an." "Boss Lin, when will the donation gathering begin?" Li Er had indeed sent people from the Ministry of Revenue over to receive the donations from the fundraiser, but Li Er did not ask Xiao Yu to come over personally. Actually, Xiao Yu only needed to send a few of his little brothers over for this sort of thing. However, this old man had previously made a bet with Li Er on whether this fundraiser could raise enough funds for a 150,000-man army. Naturally, he wanted to come over personally to see for himself. Merchants valued profits, and Xiao Yu did not think that these merchants would be so generous as to donate money to the court. This was because this matter did not benefit them at all. At this moment, he was already thinking about where the court would get the money if the donation gathering did not raise enough money. After all, Li Er's edict had already been sent to the various provinces and counties. The elite soldiers of the various provinces were gathering in Chang'an. The fact that the Northern Expedition Army had increased by 150,000 was already an indisputable fact. As the Minister of Revenue, he naturally had to think of ways to raise money. Little did old man Xiao know that calling on merchants to raise money for the country was only Li Zishuan's first method. Even if it failed, Li Zishuan had 10,000 ways to make up for it. For example, he could use the Yan Huang Bank to get a loan from the court, or the court could issue war bonds to the people. Once the war was won, they would return the money to the people. Every method could easily solve the current dilemma of the court. The reason why Li Zishuan prioritized the donation gathering was because he wanted to use this opportunity to arouse the patriotism of the Tang people and build momentum for the upcoming war between the Tang Empire and the Turks. History tells us that only by mobilizing the masses and gaining the support of the people can we win the war. At this moment, Lin Wenyuan looked at the sundial in front of the Longmen Inn. It was still a little short of the agreed time. However, he could not let Xiao Yu, the Minister of Revenue, stand outside and wait. After all, Xiao Yu was an elder who had lived through several dynasties. His position in the court was important. Thus, he cupped his hands and said, "The donation gathering will begin soon. Minister Xiao, please come in." Then, he ordered the servants, "Open the door. Invite the guests to take their seats." "Yes, master." The servant of the Lin clan bowed and ran to open the door of the inn. Lin Wenyuan and the others invited Xiao Yu to enter first. Xiao Yu did not refuse. When they entered the hall on the first floor of the inn, Xiao Yu couldn't help but exclaim, "Boss Lin, this inn is really luxurious. It doesn't pale in comparison to Yanwang College at all. How extravagant! No wonder it's the #1 inn in Lantian County." As busy as Xiao Yu was, he naturally didn't have time to visit the Longmen Inn in Lantian County. He had heard of the reputation of the Longmen Inn, but he had never seen it in person. Seeing it for the first time today, he couldn't help but exclaim in admiration, "Minister Xiao, you flatter me. How can this inn be compared to Yanwang College, the holy land of the literary world? Please take a seat." As they spoke, they had already arrived in the hall. Lin Wenyuan pointed to the seat of honor and invited Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu's status was the highest here, so there was nothing wrong with inviting him to the seat of honor. Xiao Yu shook his head and said, "I'm only here to observe. Boss Lin, you are the host of this fundraiser. How can I steal the limelight?" After saying that, he led a few officials from the Ministry of Revenue to the first row on the left. Seeing this, Lin Wenyuan couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. Xiao Yu's arrival had caught him off guard. If the other party wanted to interfere with the fundraiser, he really didn't have any good countermeasures. After all, Li Zishuan wasn't here. How could he, a mere merchant, go against a high official of the imperial court like Xiao Yu? At this moment, Xiao Yu gave up the seat of honor and took the initiative to sit down. He was undoubtedly expressing his attitude to Lin Wenyuan. In this fundraiser, he was only responsible for counting the money and wouldn't interfere with the process. "Go prepare some fruits and snacks and send them to Minister Xiao. Oh, go take out this old man's collection of immortal tea and make a pot for Minister Xiao." Lin Wenyuan ordered the manservant beside him to return the favor. "Yes, master." The servant received the order and left. At this moment, long tables had been set up on both sides of the inn. The merchants who came to participate in the fundraiser had to sign in here and indicate the amount of money they wanted to donate. Of course, in order to verify their identity, they also needed to show the next shop's deed. After everything was ready, the staff would return a rectangular plate with the amount of money donated, the donor and the shop's name on it. Only then could they enter. This was mainly to increase the efficiency of the fundraiser. Although the area of the first floor of the Longmen Inn was large, there was a limit to its capacity. It was impossible to let all the people outside in. Not long after, Lantian County's county magistrate he arrived with a group of officials. With Xiao Yu, a third-rank official, in front of him, Lin Wenyuan didn't have much fear and trepidation when he greeted Magistrate He. However, he deliberately arranged Magistrate He's seat next to Xiao Yu's, which made Magistrate He look at him with admiration. At 6 in the afternoon, all the merchants outside the inn finished signing in and took their seats in the hall. At a rough glance, there were about 600 to 700 people. As for those who hadn't arrived yet, as long as the fundraiser wasn't over yet, they could still continue participating after signing in. This was the humane aspect of the fundraiser. It was worth mentioning that Li Yu had brought the reporters from the editorial department of Tang Daily over as well. Of course, they were not there to donate money, but to record this patriotic event so that they could publish it in tomorrow's newspaper. It was a hot summer day, but the hall on the first floor of the Longmen Inn was abnormally cool. This was because there were buckets of ice placed around the hall. In front of each bucket, there was a maid holding a fan to fan it. It was like a human air conditioner. As such, the people in the hall naturally didn't feel the heat. After hearing the waiter report that the merchants outside had all entered, Lin Wenyuan walked to the front of the crowd. He held the latest loudspeaker developed by the Strange Taste Pavilion, which was a handheld megaphone. He faced the crowd and said, "Dear friends from the business world, I am Lin Wenyuan. On behalf of the Yen Huang Chamber of Commerce and Marquis, I would like to express my gratitude to all of you." Although Lin Wenyuan didn't shout hysterically, his voice reverberated throughout the hall. The merchants who had been whispering to each other a moment ago immediately quieted down. After Lin Wenyuan finished speaking, he bowed deeply to the crowd. His attitude was sincere and his expression was sincere. This fundraiser wasn't just beneficial to the Yen Huang Chamber of Commerce. It was also beneficial to the imperial court and the people of the world. However, Lin Wenyuan could only represent the Yen Huang Chamber of Commerce. As for the imperial court and the people of the world, he wouldn't dare to represent them. "Boss Lin, there's no need to be so courteous. The rise and fall of the country is the responsibility of the people." At this moment, someone in the hall said loudly. Once this was said, many people immediately echoed his word. That's right, that's right. The rise and fall of the country is the responsibility of the people. We are here to do our part for the great Tang. That's right, that's right. Without the stability of the country, how can we merchants do business? Boss Lin, there's no need to be so courteous. We are doing our best for the country and also for ourselves. The voices of agreement from the crowd moved Xiao Yu slightly. He hadn't expected these merchants to have such a high level of awareness. Regardless of whether these people were sincere or not, since they were able to enter the Longmen in today, it meant that they were here to donate money. This was real money. Chapter 1822. Good. Everyone has spoken well. The hall on the first floor of the Dragon Gate looked like a modern academic lecture hall. Lin Wenyuan stood in front of the crowd, raised the loudspeaker, and spoke loudly. The rise and fall of the country is the responsibility of all people. The Great Tang is not a Great Tang of one person, but a Great Tang of all people. Although we merchants have never been paid by the imperial court, we have been able to do business in peace precisely because His Majesty and the Emperor Emeritus established the Great Tang, ending the chaotic era of the Sui and creating a golden age of peace for the people of the realm. And now, the Turks harbor wild ambitions against our Great Tang, repeatedly invading our borders. A war is inevitable between the Great Tang and the Turk. Although we merchants normally do not speak of national affairs, if the Great Tang is defeated in this war, the Central Plains will fall into chaos. We will all become slaves of a conquered country, so where will we go to do business? The common people say that merchants value profit, but Marquis once said to this old man that value profit and righteousness. What matters is the person, not the status. Those who value profit in their bones, no matter what status they have, will place profit above all else, and vice versa. Now that the country is in danger, if we don't value righteousness, how can we talk about profit in the future? Today, I have gathered all of you here in the hope that you can place the country's righteousness above all else and contribute money and strength to the imperial court to raise military funds so that the imperial court can defeat the Turks and bring peace to the Great Tang's borders and its people. Lin Wenyuan's speech had come from his heart, and his words were forceful and forceful. Through the loudspeaker, his emotional voice resounded through the hall, and even the common people outside the Dragon Gate could hear him clearly. At this time, emotional words were often the most touching and infectious. Especially since most of the people present today were businessmen, they could empathize with Lin Wenyuan's words. After Lin Wenyuan's words, those old foxes, who had been in the business world for a long time and had become sophisticated in the business world, could not help but be slightly moved. They could clearly sense something surging in their bodies. Hot blood. Yes, it was hot blood, a blood that many merchants had not felt in a long time. Once upon a time, they had also felt a passion to serve the country, but time had slowly worn it away and obliterated it by the different views of the people of the world. But at this moment, Lin Wenyuan had awakened that hot blood in their bodies. That's right. It wasn't that businessmen valued profits, but anyone could value profit. This had nothing to do with one's identity. It was all up to them to choose to be righteous. If most of the merchants could choose to be righteous in the face of a national crisis, they might be able to take off the hat of being greedy in the future. In addition, most of the merchants present had experienced the chaos at the end of the Sui dynasty. Some of them had even heard of the 5 Barbarians' rebellion from more than 100 years ago from the elders of the older generation. They knew that people's lives were like grass in troubled times, let alone doing business. When the common people had problems even surviving, who would go to the merchants to buy things? Therefore, as soon as Lin Wenyuan finished speaking, the merchants in the hall on the first floor of the inn couldn't help but respond in kind. Well said, Boss Lin. It's said that businessmen value profits, so let's do it for the sake of the country and donate military funds to the country. That's right. No matter what, the imperial court has to defeat the Turks this time. Otherwise, how will we do business in the future? Boss Lin, hurry up and start. This old man wants to donate 5,000 strings of cash. I want to donate 8,000 strings of cash. Seeing the enthusiasm of the crowd below, Lin Wenyuan couldn't help but inwardly breathe a sigh of relief. He raised his left hand, indicating for the crowd to quiet down. The merchants in the hall gave him face. After all, he was currently representing Li Zishuan. The hall quickly quieted down. Lin Wenyuan raised the megaphone in his right hand and continued speaking. Good. Then the fundraising event will now officially begin. This fundraising event was personally organized by Marquis, but Marquis has important matters to attend to at the moment and is unable to attend in person. He entrusted this old man to preside over this fundraising event. Then this Lin will throw a brick to attract Jade. For this fundraising event, the Lin family is willing to contribute 25,000 strings of cash to assist the imperial court. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.